And anyway, so she's coming by, and all of a sudden, and this is like women only want what they think other women want. So as soon as this girl starts coming after me, now all of a sudden my now wife is interested. And I'm telling you, it must have been 2 months, and I had asked her to marry me, and she said yes, and I was then back to Italy, and she was there for like another 6 months. She came out to Italy on her R&R for a week. Spent with me there. So you
committed quick.
Yeah. And then
I need to see his wife.
When she
did you actually ask her?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you told her.
No, I had a 1 carat diamond sent to me in the mail to like ask her to marry me.
So you were all in right away.
Yeah, I was in love.
I got to see a picture.
He was, because I remember he was emailing or like messaging me way back in the day, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to go get me some hair fop,
like the hair product, like the wax."
Yeah.
And I'm like, in my head,
LA Looks.
I was
like that.
You're in the desert.
Why would you need that? I'm like, hey man, I'm in
then
competition.
It all came to like, it made sense when he's like, I'm getting married. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
You were wooing somebody in the desert instead of shaving your head.
What does courting a lady in the desert look like?
It's
how do you run game in
especially with 1,000 other swinging dicks out there, that are also in great shape and young.
You're listening to the Gabe Molina podcast.
Fellas, welcome to the podcast. Andre, welcome back. Jason, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming out, man. I always love when Andre comes out. And then he brought
thank you
brisket that smells delicious. Yeah. But one thing that I want to tell you that I've been holding on to for 25, 30 years, I don't know. I want to thank you for getting me through Spanish class, man. This guy, I sat directly behind him in Miss Mendez class. I don't know what his Spanish was like. Mine was terrible. I didn't realize that my dad couldn't speak Spanish either. Cloche is not a Spanish word. But Jason would reach up to the class in front of us, pull the paper out of the where you put it in when you're done at the end of the class.
The bin.
And he'd fill out his spreadsheet, and then I'd pass him mine. He'd fill mine out, put theirs back, and we got through it, man.
That's right.
So you know what? I like to think that part of your success is my success as well.
You know what's funny, Spanish class, because I've seen it with my kids now, I know you've seen it with yours, is it actually doesn't teach you to speak Spanish.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And conversational Spanish is, it's more of like a formal Spanish, right? Like if you went to Mexico and talked in front of Parliament or whatever they have over there, maybe. Yeah. But like when you go to Couple Street to go get a piñata, that's not the Spanish you're talking either, man. It's Tex-Mex, you know.
And that's a little bit crazy to me because think about it. 2 years of Spanish maybe we took? Now they're taking 4 years. Like my son, I think, is taking 4 years of Spanish.
I think the 4th year is kind of
Tex-Mex.
If you really want to do the advanced
so
for
they're
the credit.
like, conjugating and all the other kind of stuff that we did. I think maybe they just take longer to do what we did. But if they just took that time, that hour every day, and did like what you would if you were going to decide on your own to learn Spanish, these kids would be speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the record, I failed it in high school. And I speak it, read it, and write it.
You couldn't reach the other classes'
I
paperwork.
couldn't do the conjugating and any of the grammar. I just know how to speak it, read it, and write it.
And your parents probably spoke Spanish well. Mine never did. And it's funny because I'll talk to people down there like, how come you don't know any Spanish? And even Dad told me at one point, he gave me this guilt trip when I was like 28. And he's like, you know what I don't understand? He's like, you and your friends that are Mexican, y'all never learned Spanish and you're leaving your culture behind. I said, do you know why I didn't learn Spanish? I said, you never taught me. I said, when you and Mom would talk about Christmas gifts or somebody being sick and you talked about it in Spanish and I'd say, hey, what did that mean? You would say, don't worry about it, go to the other room. You know what I'm saying? I was like, so whose fault is this really, big guy? But man, you've had a pretty interesting go at life so far. One thing I find amazing is Andre said you might be retired already, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Thomas E, I think recently retired. A few other people, and I'm sitting there going, I still don't even know what I want to do with my life.
Yeah. I'm kind of, I would say, quasi-retired. I'm still, meeting once a week with, this is kind of starting at the end, but we just sold 3 companies. I was the chief operating officer for. We sold a olefins business, we sold a NGL business, and we sold a crude business, all within the span of 12 months, was actually really unusual. And to 3 different buyers. Howard bought the olefins business, which is a local oil and gas company in San Antonio, quite a big one. P66 bought our NGL business. We had the 2 fractionators down in Robstown. I don't know if you've seen those down there. And a large NGL pipeline coming out of the Permian, as well as the Eagle Ford. And then we had a crude business that was a big 30-inch pipeline out of the Delaware and Midland basins all the way down to Corpus. And we had a crude export terminal there. And we sold that one to Plains All American, which was my former company. That was an interesting sales process.
The irony there.
You can imagine. But yeah, so we sold all of those, which is great because normally you sell one thing and you kind of slowly tail off. And the fund that our parent company was Ares, the private equity, and they were wanting to close those funds out. So there's no other buy this one, sell this one like private equities typically do. They wanted to get out of the energy business in general. And so we kind of all were at, from the executives, you never stay with the companies that you sell, especially when you sell to like a bigger operator. And so we were all over the last, and I think it's been
Is it
about...
because the buyout's so high?
No, it's just, they're not going to take me to replace the COO at
Right.
P66, for example.
They already have a Jason Blevins over there.
Yeah, they do.
Gotcha.
And usually, like the corporate and the G&A, one of the things that makes it an attractive buy for them and an attractive sell for us is they just absorb us into their G&A. So, I mean, that's just typical. But yeah, so it's kind of trickled off, but the CEO, myself, and our general counsel are still meeting once a week. We still talk to potential other private equity funds, see if there's anything interesting to do. And so to me, I'm at a point in life where, if I find something interesting that I would actually want to go to work to do, then I'm on the lookout for that. Something like, we were actually very, very close to doing a massive project in Argentina. I was down in Buenos Aires a few times over the last 8 months. Ended up not going our way. It was final between us and an Argentinian company. And but something like that, which would be putting like a baseline infrastructure in for them to be, for their kind of new renewal in Argentina and kind of being, it's a legacy thing. So something like that I would do. Or if there was an old legacy company that somebody had just run into the ground and I came in and fixed it, that would be interesting to me.
So,
but real quick, but taking on, just going and doing something like, just to have to go to work and stuff, that's not something I'll do now. So if none of those opportunities come along, and it could be even something completely different, then maybe I'll do it. But if not, then I'm retired. That's kind of I say quasi.
Well, I like that, man, because like I'm opposite. I'm begging for somebody, please throw me something. So to be able to be comfortable enough in your skill set, right? To be able to say, hey, I know what I want, and I'm gonna chill till I find it. One thing that I think is cool is like, it sounds like you're a builder, right? It sounds like you want to come in, and that's kind of everywhere I've been. I've come, and that's kind of part of the appeal of it. I just never made any money doing it, but I liked coming into a company that needed to be built, right? Yeah. That needed structure, that needed processes, that needed all that stuff, right? Because I've done it before. Not alone, with a team of guys, and we'd sit down and we'd brainstorm what's the most efficient way to do X, Y, and Z, and, how can we be more profitable, all that other good stuff. Like, I always enjoyed that. And now that I'm older, I sit there and go, I almost get to the point where it's like, I don't want to start over again, right? Yeah. I don't want to, I want to come someplace where they have their shit together and, I can come in and make it better or make it more efficient and, but I'm not having to start from scratch again because... Yeah.
It's a lot of energy, for
sure.
It's
a lot of energy, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. So it has to be something that you really want to put your heart into. And to me right now, time is the most valuable thing, So To me, if I'm going to spend my time doing something, it's got to outweigh, spending time with my wife and kids and doing things like that. So
we do play golf once a week too, so
Yeah.
that would cut into that.
for the right opportunity, I would go, I haven't gotten any better playing once a week. So.
I was talking to, we all have a mutual friend, Benny Cantu.
Yeah.
And we were talking the other day, every now and then we do like little TikTok videos or, where we just go live and talk shit about, old guys talking about things. And we were talking the other day and we're talking about time with family. And I told him, he said, "You're the burro, right?" He says, "You'll carry the heavy load, you'll do all the work." He goes, "You need to stop being that." And it's like I told him, I said, what's weird is like, I like being the burro, right?
Yeah.
Now I want somebody to take care of me, right? I want somebody to go, "Hey man, if we give him all this, he'll do it. But let's not give him all this because we're gonna burn him out. We're gonna kill him, But at the same time, like I always told people this when I worked at the jail. They say, "What's the best part about working at the jail?" I said, "The best part about working at the jail is when the shit hit the fan, you had to deal with it." And what's the worst part about working at the jail? I said, "The worst part about working at the jail was when the shit hit the fan, you had to deal with it." So it just depended on like my attitude, right? That day or that week or whatever. Yeah. But like, I like the feeling I get when I have accomplished something that when I started that process, I didn't feel like it was manageable. And I always equate it to like cutting a tree down, right? Yeah. I always tell everybody, don't look at the tree, just look at where you're hitting and keep swinging.
No, I'm telling you, anybody in any career, work, whatever, and I found this in the last company I was at, we filled our ranks with guys like this. It's if you can put somebody in a position to prove something to themselves that they didn't believe they could do, you have them you have them as long as you want. And we had guys with chips on their shoulders that came in, all from these other big companies. And I can tell you right now, if we went and did something and I called those guys, because a lot of them, most of them operations or engineering, they went with the asset that we sold, right? So, but they would come in a heartbeat just because, like, hey, I'm gonna feed you. Don't worry, you're gonna get taken care of financially and everything else. But yeah, so when you go somewhere and you're not just slogging through it, you come out the other end with confidence and ability and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's rewarding.
Like we were talking about earlier, like I've always been super cocky, too cocky, and it's funny because like 2 jobs ago, I've had a lot lately, but I think 2 jobs ago, we had a conversation. They had a position open for safety manager, right? Mm-hmm. I had no clue how to do it. I know nothing about it. I don't have a background in it. But
that would probably make you one of the better ones that I've seen.
Well, what's funny is the guy that left that position was a great guy, but he was a knucklehead. And part of my, I guess my throwing my hat in the ring was I can at least do what he was doing. Yeah. And I've always felt like I'm the type of person, and maybe this is me being naive, but I've always felt like I'm the type of person where I tell everybody I can learn anything. Give me enough time, give me enough information to digest, because that's what I do now. I learned it on my own, and I'm like, I can learn anything. And so I remember going to my department manager and saying, "Hey man, I know I've been doing this job forever, but this came open. There's not a lot of managerial jobs that come open. So when they do, I want to throw my hat in the ring." And he goes, like fear was in his face, kind of like, "Oh no, like I don't want to have this conversation with you." So our division manager came in, and she's cute, but and we go outside. We go to the tailgate of the truck, which is like where I like to do everything. Right? Let's go to the tailgate. We'll talk about it. And she said, "So you want to go after this position?" I said, "Yeah, I want to throw my hat in there and see what happens." And she goes, "I can't let you do that." I said, "Really? Why?" And she said, "You're too important to the role you do now. There's nobody else to do it. Mm-hmm. You're good at it. And honestly, at the role that I was at, I was the only one doing it. My buddy Rich was the other guy doing the HVAC, all of it. And then we had like 6 electrical guys." Yeah. So I said, I've painted myself in a corner. Like, I worked hard, I got good at a thing, and now I can't leave that because you need me there. No, that's not it at all. But in reality, that's what it was. And I ran into that at another job too, where it was kind of like, you're too important to production. And like, I get it. If I was a manager and I had a guy like doing his job well and I didn't have to worry about it, I don't want him to leave that spot. But at the same time, as the guy doing that job, you go, fuck, man, I got to jump ship. Like the conversation I had with this company I'm leaving currently, that was part of it. I said, look, man, I've been at a lot of places where we've built departments and I never chased money. I was loyal. I became friendly with those people. They knew my family. I knew their family. We were close. Mm-hmm. But the money never showed up. Even when things got good, even when things got efficient.
So without even knowing the company you're at, I'll tell you what was wrong with it. Okay?
You are fucking handsome. We talked about that earlier. Like the eyes, man. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to come to it. No, so think about this, right? Here's the problem with the company. And I'm assuming you were in production, so you were involved in doing what the company did to make money.
Right.
They weren't out there safety doesn't make money. Safety is a cost center. Mm-hmm. So you were wanting to leave what made the company money to go to a job that doesn't make money. Their problem was, because they could, quite frankly, if you have a good operation, usually safety doesn't report into operations, right? Because they say it has to be conflict of interest. They report somewhere else. They should not be paying that person more than somebody that's actually making money for the company. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's black and white, and depending on like the size of the company or those kind of things. But in reality, what they've done is you have an HR department that goes out to the market and looks like, what does an HR person make, right? And now these HR people have like degrees, like HR degree, or not HR, safety degrees and all this kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, even when I was at a Fortune 100 company, I'm running like half their operations. This is Plains All American. We had guys. Each region had their own safety manager and et cetera. And what I told my guys is like, listen, first of all, safety doesn't set the culture. The supervisors do. The guys that are running men in the field. And I was like, let me just give you an example. If you had the best, and a region could be like Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia. That's a region, right? I was like, and then you had a headquarters there, had the safety guy in it, safety director maybe, or manager, whatever it was. And I said, if you had the best possible guy in the world, right, as your regional safety director, and you had supervisors in the field who took shortcuts and didn't take pride in what they were doing and didn't watch out for their guys, do you think you would have a safe operation going out there? And they would immediately say, no. And I'll say, okay, now assume you had the worst safety guy. Didn't even come to work. But you had supervisors that took pride in what they did, looked after their guys, didn't take shortcuts. Would you have a safe job? Would you have a safe working environment? Yes. That should tell you how important that safety guy is. Right? It only matters the guys that are actually doing what the company does. Like because, and you've seen it, man. I mean, whether it's HR or safety or any of these things that are like peripheral to what a company does, they always get way too much power. And I'll tell you an example. Like if you have a company where all of a sudden the safety numbers start going real bad, they actually start giving the safety department more people that don't do what the company does. It's just the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I've always thought that way, like the opposite of all that stuff, whether it was HR or safety or any of these other things. And so I've never understood that. Anywhere I've gone, I've changed it. So I was telling recently you've seen all these founders like the Elon Musk class and even newer than him, these guys that are all these AI and stuff. They've just done away with HR departments, just done away with them. Because all they did was create barriers to what the company was trying to do. So.
You know what's interesting is a few jobs ago, that's how I describe these companies. One of them started out as a mom and pop shop, and tried to hold on to the idea that they were a small mom and pop country place full of good small town people.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I got there at the tail end of that, but it eventually merged into, hey, our lawyers want us to do this. Our lawyers want us to do that. We can no longer submit this document to our client because the lawyer says it's too vague and it might get us in trouble. And it was interesting because, like, I would tell I had a buddy that worked there. We've always worked together. I said, it's interesting because have you noticed? I said, every time we get in a company email, it's our lawyers told us this.
Yeah.
HR wants us to do that. And I said, and we're no longer what they think that we are.
Yeah.
And it changes the culture, man.
Yeah.
I've been at a place once before where everybody was like-minded. Everybody was on the same page. Mm-hmm. Everybody cared about each other, about the company, about the work we did, the quality. And it was one of those things where it's like, hey, Jason, you've got a lot of work and me and Andre are done. I don't know what you do, but I can help you, right?
Yeah.
You want me to type something up? You want me to, check something for make sure it's written correctly, things aren't misspelled, give it to me.
Yeah.
Like, we would jump in. And it was funny because, like, I got super spoiled there because I thought that's how it was everywhere. And then when I went everywhere else, it was not that way.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was always chasing that. Like, I always wanted to build that. And I would even tell in my reviews, hey, when I was here, this happened. Let's build that. It turned out as a rare thing, at least in the industry that I was in the location I was in. It turned out to be pretty.
Yeah, because it was a company with good culture. Everybody's pulling in the same direction.
Yeah,
that's usually what that is. And then you get to these other ones when you start having lawyers or buyouts, and where people are starting to try to cut margin without knowing what they're cutting. Those kind of things. Instead of trying to grow revenue, they start trying to cut costs. Those kind of things. I mean, everybody starts pulling in this. We're looking out for themselves. Who moved my cheese? Don't even know. Like, how they contribute to company profitability. They don't even know. They don't care because they're not paid to care. They're paid to fill out the paperwork correctly. And so that's what you get.
It's I told Audrey the other day, I said, I need to talk to your wife because I don't understand corporate culture. There's a lot of things that you're saying where it's kind of like, oh, fuck, man.
I'll tell you, and if we go back and I kind of walk through, I'll tell you the point that became clear to me in my career. That
was my next question because I knew something happened to you. I mean, you've always been a good dude. You come from a good family, in a small community. So, I mean, it's not like you're night and day of who you were when you were younger. Yeah. But when you showed up and you gave that speech at the high school graduation, it was one of those things where I hate high school graduations. Yeah. Because the speech is always, you're the class that's going to be different. Yeah. You're going to change the world. Yeah. And you came in and basically, in a nutshell, said, if you don't become somebody, you're not going to become somebody, kind of thing. It's up to you. Got to put the work in, and you can stay somebody who ain't shit, but you don't have to. But it requires a lot of effort. Yeah,
and because I probably took 2 months writing that.
I want to say when you got done, I quietly to myself went, "Oh snap."
No, I did. I took like 2 months writing that, and rewrote it a couple of times. And you don't want it to be too long. But I wanted those kids to be able to go back and look at it. And that's why they asked me for a printout of it. I gave it to them, and I think they put it online for something. But I wanted them to go back and look at that and be like, when they were at some point younger than most of us realized that kind of stuff, and say. Because I knew they weren't going to quite understand what I was saying, being 18-year-old kids. But look back, and that helped them make that leap that I made probably in my late 20s.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's a lot of, especially nowadays in particular. Like they should read that speech at everybody's graduation. But it's kind of like I feel like we fill our kids with. A false sense of who they already are. Yeah. And it's like you can be whatever you want to be. Yeah. But we forget to tell them it requires a lot of work and dedication. It's not just, hey, I want to be a fucking astronaut. Yeah. Where when we were kids, I don't know about y'all, but Dad had a 7th grade education. Mom was a very passive lady. Mm-hmm. So I always felt like Dad never felt, even though he was the dominant parent in the family, I don't feel like Dad ever felt like he had a leg to stand on when it came to education and stuff like that. Yeah. Work ethic, yes, but Dad was content with us going
I'm
to
telling
school.
you, that is exactly. My dad never said a word to me about grades.
Really?
Ever. Not one. My mom, I would say up until high school, at which point I, went home maybe 3, how it is in George West. I stayed home maybe 3 nights and I was with buddies or whatever.
Yeah.
But my mom was, iron rod, all A's, up until I was probably through junior high. And then it was on my own so I can learn. But my dad never said a word to me. And I think it was the same way because he felt like he didn't have a right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It takes people to help you, right? Like you're saying, helping you set expectations. A counselor, any counselor, school counselor, to me, their expectations should be higher than whatever a kid's is.
She was super cute back then, though.
Yeah. I think I'm related to her.
Yeah, it might be.
But, unless you're at one of these really good schools and you have really successful parents, my kids, they have the benefit of us having huge expectations for them. And, for me, growing up, I was doing well in school, wasn't trying real hard, but, doing well. It was George West. And, everybody's friends there, so it wasn't like cliques or anything that I fell into. But I would say Lana Holland for me, because she was really good friends with my mother growing up. And, she was, math in high school, so she would not let me, miss anything, right? And then the other one, probably the largest one for me, and academically and where I went to school, was Tim Holt. He just decided, hey, you're going to Air Force Academy. My dad was military and my grandfather was, they were all airborne and everything, but it wasn't something that I was like, Chad McNeil, knew everything about the Air Force Academy. But, Tim Holt, he knew my background. And, we had Ivy League schools coming down that I was talking to, for a while. And he was like, no, you're going to Air Force Academy. So I ended up there. And I think that just set me out on the right path. It's a tough place to go, from a discipline perspective and everything. But, and then going through there, you get thrown in where everybody's like, hard charging, cream of the crop. And so you just get lifted with that. And so I think I kind of got lucky there, that I had people like that pushed me to do that. Starting with my mother, obviously, from a school perspective, it's like all A's or, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Which is funny because she didn't really do that with, I'm the second of 9 kids. And I don't remember her doing that with my younger siblings. Maybe she did. I don't know.
Or older.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because in doing this podcast, when I talk to people who've done well or have their shit together, there's always been this mentorship from somewhere, whether it was a lifelong mentorship or maybe it was a summer or a year. It's like having somebody going, hey man, Tim Holt looking at you and going, you're a good fit for the Air Force.
Yeah.
You didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
He knew that.
He knew it.
And that helps to be able to go, I guess I'm going to the Air Force, right?
Yeah.
Even for, and my mentality when I was younger was just like, I tell everybody, I wanted to do what my dad did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dad worked at U.S. Steel. Hell, everybody worked at U.S. Steel. Then there was the refinery and the prisons. And I remember before I followed you to B County, 2 weeks before that, I was like, I guess I'm going to electric school where Joe went and go work for Scott Electric in Corpus for a little while and go from there. That's what Joe did. And it wasn't even going to B County was it was a stretch. I always tell people, you don't understand growing up in George West in, the 80s and early 90s. It's like, that was your world.
Yeah, because, the internet didn't exist.
Nope.
But not, we were not exposed to everything that was going on out there. There wasn't Twitter. Mm-mm. Now, these kids, they're exposed immediately to everything that's going on.
All over the world.
Yeah, so they know, hey, I want to do what this guy does, or I want to do that. But for us, is whatever we saw.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because to see you now, you've experienced a whole lot of things. Even talking earlier about when it was time to call it quits.
Yeah.
that takes a lot of balls, man, to be able to go, hey, you know what? This isn't fulfilling. You know, my kids are at a good age where I need to be around, right? They're not tiny where they forget that daddy's been gone a long time. You know, they're not old enough to where they're doing their own thing, you know, outside of the house.
Yeah.
It's important for me to be here. You know, same thing for Andre. It's important for me to be here. And like for me, we kind of touched on it earlier, but for me, I've always been like, dude, I don't even know why my wife's still with me. Because there's times where it's like, we'd get tickets to go to a show in the Valley or in Houston or whatever, you know, and we're leaving right after work. And then I call her at 3 o'clock and I'm like, call some friends and take off because I'm going to be here late, you know. I mean, that's part of it, right? I'm sure all you guys have done the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, at a certain point, to be able to go, I need to reprioritize stuff, you know. And maybe down the road, when the kids are gone and they're older and they moved on and they're in college, you go, you know what? Fuck, I want to throw my hat back in the ring.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a little bit of, especially what you guys were describing earlier, you know, this sounds stupid, but there's a lot of action in that kind of work, right?
Yeah.
Oil and gas and construction. And it's like when you're kind of manning the ship and everybody's rowing in the same direction and shit's getting done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a dopamine kick to that, man.
Yeah, no, it is. And like I said, you know, it's got to be something you want to throw yourself into. And even right now, you know, I've gotten calls because, you know, from being an officer at Plains All-American, which is like a Fortune 100, and then being the CEO here, you know, there's not, it's a small group of folks that are, and so when somebody in that industry is looking for that, you know, like, you know, whether it's in Houston or Dallas or Oklahoma City or wherever,
They don't go to
Denver.
They don't go to LinkedIn. They say, "Hey, Jason,
Yeah, that's right.
You want to do this?"
That's right.
Right.
And so, but even then, and I say, listen, my son's going to be a senior. My daughter's going to be a sophomore. I'm not leaving Marion, Texas. I'm not pulling on. My kids have already moved around a lot. I know Andres have too. And, you know, the initial thing will be like, well, you could do like a
Hybrid schedule.
And I'm like, if that's what you're looking for, that ain't me. Because that role, or any role that I would be interested in, I couldn't do from home.
It requires way more than.
Because it's, you know, it's full steam ahead, you know, you got to be willing to outwork everybody in the company. You know, you're working to make them better and make the company better. And especially from a leadership perspective, doing that like 2 days from home is not,
Yeah.
You know, maybe if you're doing something really technical, that might work. But, you know, for me, I'm like, no, if I'm going to take something that's going to be like, I'm going to be there later than everybody else. I'm going to be, you know, there.
That's kind of the problem that I run into with this job that I'm at right now, because it's 100% work from home.
Yeah.
And I managed to work with some of the younger people, and I think it goes well to some degree. It's very technical.
Yeah.
But I find that I don't stop working, especially when it's across the country and somebody in Arizona's 2 hours behind me. So her lunchtime is 2 o'clock for me.
You end up just always being at work.
Always working, and then it gets to the point where we're in this weird place right now. My wife and I, my father-in-law has been sick, so she's been staying with him. So it's literally just me at the house. Yeah. And you don't want to come to my house because there's dirty underwear. It's like a frat house. It's terrible. I really shouldn't live that way as a 50-year-old. But so I sit there and go, fuck, let me keep working. I mean, I have the deadlines. I've got plenty of stuff that needs to get done. I don't have to, let me just keep going. And I had a conversation with Bojan the other day. I said, man, and this is a very negative thing, but I said, dude, I need to be careful. I said, because I'm getting to the point where I'm comfortable just worrying only about me. Mm-hmm. Nita called me. It was a Saturday, and actually it was a Friday night. She said, hey, let's do lunch tomorrow. She's staying at her dad's. And I didn't tell her, if she listens to this, she'll know, but my first thought was, fuck, I got my day planned tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I got a meeting at 9. I was going to work till this time. I was going to call mom and have an hour conversation with her. And I had all this stuff planned out, and you weren't part of it, And it was funny because I was talking to Bo about it, and Bo goes, dude, I'm the same way. He's like, he's like, our calendars are always full. Yeah. And Kelly will be like, hey, let's go to dinner tonight. Let's go do a little date, something. And Bo's like, I got a meeting.
We're all that way.
Right. And it's like, to be able to sit there and go, hey, I'm going to get out of this stuff for a while. Because it's addicting, right? It's addicting being able to be the man at your job. You know, it's addicting to be successful at something that you've committed yourself to a career. But to be able to go, my family's important too. Because they're important. We all know that. Yeah. But it's like,
it's hard to tie it together.
I got time.
Yeah.
You know?
Because, you know, if you lost it, nothing else would matter.
Right.
And it's just hard to make,
No,
that introspection is tough.
So where did you acquire all this, man? Was it in the Air Force?
No, I mean...
was it from your family or?
No. I mean, yes, I was, you know, I had a good family. You know, raised right like we all are in George West.
Most.
Yeah, most. Most. But yeah, you know, but yeah, I can tell you, coming out of George West, even coming out of the Air Force Academy, like looking back, I still look, you know, we all thought they were really smart, and everybody tells you you're so smart, and Air Force grad and all that. But looking back, I still was ignorant, you know. Ignorant, I mean, I guess young. Some people will come to it. Probably people that have harder lives come to it a little, maybe introspection a little bit more. But I would say until I was, maybe 20, right around when I got married is when I really started. When I was starting to make decisions like leave the Air Force, despite being on a really, you know, fast track, and really started throwing myself out and realized like there's nothing that you can't do or try to do, right, if you're not afraid of failure. So I started doing that, and then doing 17-hour days while I'm doing that, and then starting to come to the realization, like a hard realization that you are trading this for that. And I actually made, I mean, Andre knows my wife really well. I can't tell you how lucky I am. She's, whew. So I was doing all this
stuff. Is
your
wife the one that works at Indy Brothels?
No, my wife.
That's Jeremy's wife.
That's Jeremy's wife.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, yep. my wife's a radiologist.
Okay.
So, you know, that's undergrad, med school, residency, and, you know, radiologists are like cream of the crop doctor types, you know, top 10% minimum to even get into radiology.
I married a school teacher. Anyway, go ahead, I'm sorry.
But so, you know, she did all this while I was in the Middle East or in India or in Turkey.
Did you have kids at the time?
Yes. We got married, and
that's a big load for her.
Maybe 12 months later, my son showed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she was at one point in California for a year. And my son was in kindergarten, my daughter was 3, and she was the only radiologist at 29 Palms, which is a big Marine training base there. And so she would get called up at 2 a.m. And there's no family there. There's no, you know, daycare. And so she would drive 20 miles to the base and be like with my kids sleeping on the floor in her office, like doing reads, you know, right. And so she did that. And then from there went to Corpus. That's why I had the place out on the island in the Corpus.
Okay.
Because my kids went to like primary school, I guess it is, on the island at the charter school there. But, you know, and then she was there, and I lived in Houston and would come down on the weekends. And it's funny, my daughter, great artist, by the way. Well, I have to talk a little bit about it. I don't know where she got it, but she's just like great artist. She used to draw these pictures of the family, and it'd be like my mom, my son, and her.
I know where the story's going.
And I'd be like, Allie, where am I at? And she would point, and there'd be like a little spider in the window. And she's like, there's Daddy's spider. And I was like, man, I was like, oh, no matter what we do, we're going to need to live together. And so then, but, you know, when she got out, she was still Navy, and then she got out and moved to Houston. And, you know, we lived there for 4 or 5 years before I moved to San Antonio. And then the last couple years, though, here, she was, you know, radiologists can work from home now. And so that's why we were able to move here. And she had her office in our house. And you know, my kids were in, my son was a freshman. Maybe, I think my daughter was 7th grade. And she's stressed out because radiology is all about how fast can you read these things now, there 1,000 studies a day, just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And X-rays are the easy ones. And my wife was like more of her fellowship was in like body. So it's all like the cancers and,
So, I mean,
soft
that's
reads.
real fucking important she gets her job done correctly.
Yeah, and fast.
Yeah.
Because it's all about speed now. They need to get through these patients and they're trying to cut, private equities own all the radiology companies. And she was always stressed out and she worked like every other weekend. We always have stuff with the kids. So I said, hey, and this is a good position to be in, but I'm like, why are you doing it if it stresses you out? Like the money you make doesn't change anything for us. And so finally talked to her.
Jason was like, I make a fuck ton of money.
No, but for her, for
Yeah.
her, that was the thing. I'm like, why are you doing this? And sometimes I thought she would think like I could leave her or something, which I could never leave my.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Was there ever a time where that was a stress to where?
Not in my mind.
Okay.
But I couldn't figure out why she wouldn't stop working.
So she had that concern.
And she finally, I'm like, you get the most joy to being a mom. And so she finally, 2 years ago, something like that, stopped working. And she still kind of stays current. Like other radiologists always still send her stuff to look at because they always want a second opinion. But yeah, so she doesn't. She's a mom now. She's a great mom. So.
That's a lot on her, man. Yeah. Being alone with the kids. Having family nearby when they came to Corpus, but in California, not. Not only doing her job, but also I'm sure there was a portion in there where she's still learning her job. And then having the kids and
stressful.
Having you in another country that's dangerous. It's like it's interesting because when you describe all that, it's like, man, she had a lot on her fucking shoulders.
Yeah, she did. And so I mean, to me, I legitimately made those decisions knowing. I mean, luckily she was strong enough to do it, but knowing that at some point I would be able to put us in a better position overall with the sacrifice of that. So, but yeah, I mean, I've been living with them since they were, 11 or 10 or something, but for between 3 or 4 and that, it was kind of like touch and go.
How was it when you came back, so to speak? And I mean, that's not the right way to say that. It's funny because
you mean when we started living together again full time?
Was it?
Oh, it was great.
Okay, so it wasn't like, hey, we got to get to know each other again.
Yeah. No, because whenever I was in Houston, for example, I just worked all the time. And then whenever I was off, I was down in Corpus with them.
Okay.
And so I didn't have a life. People would come to Houston and be like, where do you want, what restaurants are good around here? And I'd be like, I don't know. I've lived here 3 years, but I don't, I don't do anything. So
well, it's funny because me and my wife, we have a time limit, man. Yeah. After about 2.5 hours, we get sick of each other. Even now that she's at her dad's, it's like we're more cordial to one another. We're very much the same person. Yeah. And I think that's why we grind gears. Yeah. But it's like, even now, it's like, hey, we're very nice and sweet to each other. And about 2.5 hour, 3 hour mark, it's like, I'm going back to the house. I'll see you tomorrow.
Like I said, we sold maybe 3.5 months ago. So I've been home since then, not going to work every day. And so it's been good. I was a little bit worried about it. Like, man, we're going to get on each other's nerves. But yeah, my wife's easygoing. So
y'all like doing
we're opposite.
Okay.
So that helps.
Yeah.
She is as easygoing as you can imagine.
Well, that's good.
No drama.
It was so you ended up going to Afghanistan after the military or during the military?
Both.
Okay.
So after the Air Force Academy, first they keep about 8 football players to help coach, and I did that. It's my first year, and then I was over in Virginia a couple of years, and I went to graduate school in Ohio, and then from there I was out of the country. So after graduate school, I went to Korea. Was there about 16 months. Very interesting experience. And from there went to Italy, Aviano, kind of near Venice, it's air base up there. And then, but from Aviano, I got deployed for the first time into Afghanistan. That's when I went to Kandahar, which is southern Afghanistan, you know, home of the Taliban. Like I was telling you earlier, their final kind of rats in the hole was at the Kandahar airport. And so I was the civil engineering commander there. I want to say that was in 06. No, 07, something like that.
Were you married?
Oh, huh?
Were you married?
No.
So yeah, it was probably 06, 07.
Yeah. So
I don't want to stop you, but funny story about Afghanistan. Benny Cantu was telling me, him and his buddy that we do little TikToks with. Yeah. He said they were in Iraq, and he said all of a sudden we got sent to Afghanistan in the wintertime. He said all we had was our Iraqi gear.
Yeah.
He said we froze our
It's the Himalayas. Yeah. It's the Himalayas. So I was in the south, so it wasn't that bad, but it was still pretty cold. It was more desert. But yeah, so I went out there, was single, you know, and it was great. The job was great. It was.
What was the nightlife there?
None. Actually,
two beers a day?
I'll tell you.
Super dark.
I'll tell you because this kind of comes with the story. I had a compound. You know what HESCO barriers are? They're like the big things filled with sand.
Oh, yeah.
So I had a compound inside the base that was like the civil engineering compound, and I had all my equipment and all my guys. We'd be in there. And we had like the K-spans, like the buildings that are like the our
Dome
the
shape.
dome, yeah. So we had all of our stuff in there, and we had the ability to build or do anything, right? So that's what me and my guys did, and we took care of the most important thing on the base was the airfield, right? And we had like 13 different countries. So I would chair this airfield construction board because we were building all this stuff, and I had like 13 countries that I'm trying to like give them ramp space to park their aircraft and do all this kind of stuff and kind of prioritize everything. So we had all this. I had electricians, I had structural guys, I had big, heavy civil equipment operators, you know, all the stuff. And so we would, I can remember this because the Canadians were a big contingent there. And there was a hospital there, and the Canadian nurses were there. And so you think about it, you're on this base that has, you know, it has the Dutch, it has the Danes, it has the Brits, it has us, it has Canadians, it has all these different countries, and 90% of them are you know, alpha military males, and then you have these like nurses and, you know, this kind of stuff.
Canadian at that.
Yeah. And they had the Canadians like across the road from where I was. The Canadians had what they call their MWR, where they had like pool tables and they play music and everything. There's no alcohol.
Welfare.
Yeah, there's no alcohol on the base, right? And so I had gone to graduate school with this girl and another guy from the Air Force Academy. He was a baseball pitcher, and they were married, and they were going to grad school at the same time as me. And so got to know them really well. And so I'm out there, and I get an email from this girl, and she says, "Hey, my sister's coming to Afghanistan. She's getting deployed to Afghanistan, you know, as a doctor." And I said, "Okay, yeah, put me in touch with her, and wherever she's going, I'll put her in touch with the civil engineering guy there. You can help her out, or whatever." And she goes, "No, she's coming there." And I said, "Okay, you know." And so I start going back and forth with this girl, and she tells me when she's showing up or whatever. I'm like, "Oh, I'm over here, you know, stop by, you know, when you get here, whatever. I'll show you around, whatever."
Yeah, I'll show you the rocks.
Yeah. So I've been there maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. And you ever heard about like desert goggles? Mm-mm. When you've been around this like, and you haven't been around women.
Is it like beer goggles?
Like, yes.
Oh, got you.
Yes.
Desert queens.
Yeah. So this girl shows up, and I see her, and I just like, my mouth goes dry. I'm like, holy shit. You know, like.
Like in a negative way, or?
No, like a good way.
Okay.
Like, I'm like, like the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And it's like, it just, you know, long story short, it's my wife now.
Oh, really?
So it's her. It was this girl's sister, right? And so I see her, and I'm just like, oh shit. And so I am, you know, I'm aggressive, like, you know, talking to her, and she's kind of like standoffish, you know. And I'm like, well, maybe she's getting all this attention from everybody, but you know, out there you got to fight for your scraps, right?
Yeah.
So And I can remember, I knew her mom because her mom would come up to, her mom's Thai, like from Thailand. Like married, my father-in-law is also an Air Force Academy grad pilot and all that. And so my wife is half Thai, but her mom's Thai, and I don't know if you know Thai people, but they don't have like a polite.
Is she addicted to the little electronic machines?
No. But she does not have whatever she's thinking, she's going to say.
Yeah.
Like that thing. And so, but she's very opinionated. And so I can remember I'm still like, me and my guys are like expanding the aircraft parking area, and it's kind of by the hospitals right on the airfield. And so we're going to go pave the stuff, and like all the doctors and stuff, their cars are parked there. So I send somebody in. I'm like, hey, tell them we told them already. They got to get this stuff out because we're breaking this up and starting to, do the base work and everything on it. And she comes out, right? And maybe she's been there a week or two. And I can remember I'm like just in my t-shirt, got my sleeves up, and she's like in her car with the window down, and I put my arms up, and I have like a tattoo. And she goes, her mom's name is Kat. She goes, Kat Sweeney doesn't like tattoos. And I go, well, I'm not interested in Kat Sweeney. I'm telling, and to this day she'll tell you, my wife is so like, she said she thought I was saying that just I didn't care that her mom didn't like tattoos. Not that I was hitting on, she still doesn't get it. So anyway, go on, and finally I'm like, I guess it's just, she's just not interested. And things happen out there. It seems like a year, but it's only like a week. That's how life and everything is like crazy. So there's this British officer that is
male or female?
Female. Okay. And I got him. I know my wife's gonna listen to this. And she's into me. I'm like all the colonels on the side, and I'm like telling them what they can and can't do. So I've got this power.
There's some heavy set, almost 50-year-olds that have said you're good looking.
And anyway, so she's coming by, and all of a sudden, and this is like women only want what they think other women want. So as soon as this girl starts coming after me, now all of a sudden my now wife is interested. And I'm telling you, it must have been 2 months. And I had asked her to marry me, and she said yes. And I was then back to Italy, and she was there for like another 6 months. She came out to Italy on her R&R for a week. Spent
so
with me
you
there.
Committed quick.
Yeah. And then
I need to see his wife.
When she
Did you actually ask her?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you told her.
No, I had a 1 carat diamond sent to me in the mail to like ask her to marry me.
So you were all in right away.
Yeah, I was in love.
I gotta see a picture.
He was, because I remember he was emailing or like messaging me way back in the day, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to go get me some hair fop,
like the hair product, like the wax."
Yeah.
And I'm like, in my head,
LA Looks.
I was
like
that. You're in the
why
desert.
Would you need that? Why would you need that? I'm like, hey man, I'm in
Then
competition.
It all came to it made sense, and he's like, "I'm getting married." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah."
You were wooing somebody in the desert instead of shaving your head.
What is courting a lady in the desert look like?
It's
how do you run game in
especially with 1,000 other swinging dicks out there, that are also in great shape and young.
And apparently they probably noticed that she was also beautiful.
Oh my God,
they're not blind.
Yes, you go in the chow hall, and I had to eat with everybody staring at us. I mean, it is. I would just, and so, then we lined up where I was leaving Italy. I'd, been there 2 years before.
Dude, I would be so cocky if I was one of the dudes with one of the only 3 women.
No, you're just worried all the time. And so, but she flew, she got done, and she was getting based in Portsmouth, Virginia. I was getting based in Langley again. And so when she
how close are those together? They're pretty close.
They're pretty close. Okay. We actually lived in between. And
okay.
But when she came back, she was out processing out of her old base in San Diego because she was at the Balboa Hospital there. And so I flew to San Diego. She landed there. We went down to the Justice of the Peace. I actually met Andre and Tracy there.
Y'all living on that side of the country?
No, actually, we were in Virginia as well.
Yeah.
And Tracy had to go do some work in San Diego, let's say.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it just happened to line up with
Like the reason I remember all this
going over
because
there.
we played like the only reason I remember San Diego, but we did. My wife and I just walked down to the Justice of the Peace like in flip flops and got married, just us, and we've been married almost 20 years now.
And you never went to chow hall with her again after that? You're like,
Yeah.
you're like, I got it.
Yeah, but mostly what I remember San Diego is Andre and Tracy were there, but we played golf, and it was like one of the only times Andre ever beat me at golf.
I did not beat him. He's wrong.
You almost did.
I almost did.
Now
I
he beats me all the time. But yeah,
he was supposed to get married when I was there, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. No big deal. He actually discovered that I had gotten married.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't tell anybody, but I got married. I pulled out my ID card to get on base.
Yeah, I saw he had a military ID card.
Wait a minute.
Oh, going back to when I was at grad school, I went to grad school with a girl who graduated like 6 months before me, and she was going to San Antonio. She was from New York, and I said, "Hey," and she was like bad mouthing Texas, and I was like, "You need to know the right people. Whenever I go down there and you're there, I'll introduce you to some of my friends." And I introduced her to Andre, and they're married now. That's
Oh,
his
is that
wife.
her?
Yeah.
So you
He used to be super proud of that. Now he's like, man, I'm
Now
sorry.
I'm like, yeah.
So that's awesome that everybody is so
It's
well
connected, yeah.
So,
Our lives are weirdly braided, intertwined. It's unreal.
that's pretty
There's
cool.
a story where when he was in Afghanistan, I would see him on Skype or something because we were in Turkey, so we're in the same time zone fundamentally. And we would just chat all the time. And then next thing I know, he's like with his gun cleaning. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, this is what I carry every day. I'm in a chopper or whatever, And I'm like, oh, I had no idea. I just thought you're.
Yeah, that was the second time I was out there. I traveled all over South and East Afghanistan, which is weird. I just did it however I could because I didn't have a supporting unit. So I would be in like a soft scan, like a beat up thing with like Afghans, like driving through checkpoints.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder if you and Benny were ever in the same place, same time. Benny was, I guess, the gunner in the helicopter.
Yeah.
So he was the guy that sat on the big gun, whenever they went to go take people.
Was
or
he
drop them off.
Marine or Army?
Army?
Yeah. So I only flew with the Marines.
Oh, okay. It was funny when he ended up going to Iraq.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Benny was in things that didn't take passengers.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. They didn't. Like for me, there'd be like the Marine, like the Jolly Green Giants, or I'd fly with USAID. I mean, I would just have to hitch rides with people.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
yeah, what Benny was in, they weren't taking hitchhikers.
You know, it's funny because I talked to him when he first enlisted. He wrote down all the places he wanted to go.
Yeah.
And he wrote down Hawaii just for shits.
Yeah.
He went to Hawaii for 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. And then his last year, they tell him, hey, you're going to Iraq. And I remember talking to him, and he said, man, I'm going to Iraq. And I said, it's time to pay the piper, man. I said, you've been in paradise for 3 years. I said, it's time to pay the piper. But he was in for, I guess, maybe like 10 or something. But
Yeah.
That's interesting. So how long were you in Afghanistan for? And you were there
multiple times. So
okay, that's right.
yeah, it's funny. So like I said, after me and my wife got married, we were in Virginia. From there, from Virginia, I got deployed again to Afghanistan, and I was based out of Kabul, but I was responsible for all the. It's like the.
And you already had kids at this point?
We had my son. Yeah.
Okay.
But we. Like the Air Force version of the Corps of Engineers. That's what I was doing. So I was responsible for all the stuff we were doing in southern and eastern Afghanistan. So I was traveling all around there, and I was probably there for like 7 or 8 months.
Was Kabul where they
Kabul was there,
finally
like,
pulled out?
Yeah, that's their
Afghanistan?
capital.
Okay.
It's in like a mountain valley, and it's got the city around it, the old city. But then, you go on the south, you have Helmand Province, which was one of the hotbeds. Kandahar, which, also similar. But then on the east, it got pretty hot because that was the border with Pakistan. Mm. And then on the far east side, or on the far west side, the country bordered like Iran. it wasn't as bad over there for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah.
What is it like working over there where, and we talk about Benny and there's some other guys, from back home that went over there and being a guy that hasn't participated in anything like that, this is all speculation off the top of my head. But I would imagine that when you go there to do a job that, maybe Chuck Bressin went to go do, or Benny you went to go do, you get in that mind frame, right? This is what I'm here for. But then you got a guy like you who comes in for a different job.
It's different.
While all this is happening.
So, it's a little bit different. One, because of the nature of what I was doing, and Benny might have been training Afghans too. I don't know. A lot of those guys had to end up doing that kind of stuff. But I dealt with the Afghans quite a bit. Whether it was building facilities for their Afghan Army, Afghan Air Force. I was also building stuff, obviously, for U.S. or even other countries.
How was that getting Afghans to work?
Rewarding in some spot. I can tell you, the first time I was out there, so you know what an MQ-9 Reaper is? The Reaper drones? Like the hunter killer. The very
Are those
first,
the ones you see online all the time with the 2 fins on the back?
Yes.
Okay.
The 2 fins sticking up.
Right.
The original reconnaissance drone with the 2 fins sticking down is a Predator.
Okay.
They were not made to put warheads. They were just for reconnaissance. They did retrofit them to be able to have Hellfires, but the MQ-9 was the original hunter killer, and it could carry, it carried Hellfires, it carried GBUs, and it could stay up 24 hours and loiter. It was made to, their whole thing, like the coins, it has says warheads on foreheads.
Wow.
And there's a guy
That's
back in,
pretty badass.
and there's a guy back in Nevada flying them. That's what they say. It's like video games.
Wow.
So, but the very first one in the AOR, I built the MQ-9 facility at Kandahar, and I used, besides my own guys, like my own civil engineers, in the Air Force, the equipment operators and electricians that are uniform wearers, not like Army and Navy and all them where they contracted them out. But in the Air Force, because our fighting platforms were our air bases, so the guys that took care of it were uniform guys, not civilians.
Yeah.
And so I used all those guys, and then we hired a bunch of Afghans, like contractors. And we had to train them, like how to cure concrete, how to place concrete, how to form it up, why you did certain things and why you didn't. And so you really got to know them. What was interesting about it is you would have, because we were under a timeline. I'm giving like updates to freaking CENTCOM about when we're going to be done so they can get the Reapers out here. And they just wouldn't show up to work one day, the whole crew. And it would be because they got a night letter that said, hey, if you go to the base, we're going to kill your family. Like out in town, and there's nothing you can do about it. You try to send your quick react, like your guys that are trying to go out and do different things, your teams. But that really, between that and then there's other things like, but yeah, anyway, we trained them all to do that. We got it done. They flew a C-5 to bring the first 2 Reapers out there, and they're in these huge coffins, almost like they call them coffins. And it was the largest aircraft because you see C-17s and stuff all day. They're made for auxiliary airfields. But a C-5 is like a monster.
So how big are these drones? Like when you see them online, they don't look very big.
They're bigger than you think.
Really?
Yeah, they're probably the length of this room.
Oh, really? That big?
Yeah, but they're real quiet. They're real quiet. And Predators are a little bit smaller. But yeah, the wingspan they're probably the length of this room, and the wingspan is this and the
porch.
The porch, yeah. They're about the size of a fighter aircraft.
That's pretty big.
But people don't realize how big a fighter aircraft is either. And
well, even especially those drones, like when you see pictures of them online, they're in the air. Or they're in a big warehouse.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's cute. And
the
then
new ones are small.
You go, I got a drone too, right? And so
you
sit there and go, it's hard to understand how big those are. But I guess when they're carrying payloads like that, they got to be sizable.
Yeah, they're big. And they, but like I said, they're quiet. We'd be working. I'd have my guys out. Because we're on these airfields where we'd be, on an airfield with jets, you can't have any gravel or anything. Because one little piece of gravel gets in an engine, it'll fight out a $5 million engine. And so you're always sweeping it. Anytime there's starting to be spall, like cracks or something, you got to go in and repair it. So even a little piece of concrete that gets sucked up into an engine. And we'd be working, and all of a sudden, like you'd hear like a zzz, and turn around, and there's one of these things taxiing, waiting. I don't know what happened. Like waiting for you, and it's trying to like zoom its engine so you would hear it, and then you see like the little pod like.
So is that the guy in Arizona telling you I'm behind you?
No, it's the guy. So they had the flight things. The way they may not do this anymore, but the drones were operated. They are takeoff and landing by local guys.
Oh.
They had like a little video game type pod that they would operate out. But once they got them up, they hand them over to the States. And those guys run the 24-hour missions and stuff. But all the landing, I don't know why, and I don't know if it's maybe because conditions or something, but all the landing and the takeoffs were done by local pilots.
What do they run on? What's their fuel source?
To
run that long?
I think
Battery?
No, it wasn't. It might be now, but no. I don't think anything can fly along with a battery for what those do. But no, it was fuel.
Okay, that's interesting.
They were coated with something that you couldn't touch, because we did have one splat. Because again, that happens a lot because a pilot, they can feel as they're coming in, like I got caught by a thermal or whatever, I'm going to adjust, but the guy in the thing can't. So you would see him like, wham, and just the landing gear go out.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's got like hellfires on it still and stuff that they didn't fire. We go out there and they're like, oh, you can't touch that stuff because you don't have the right equipment.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Afghans. So that, seeing that kind of stuff, like the conditions dealing with them. And then also, like I could see from the base poppy fields. And there was in Kandahar, there was a little area, maybe like the size of a city block, that was fenced off separately, like U.S. territory. It was the State Department. And they would do stuff like fire cruise missiles or, those kind of things from there. But they would, the State Department guys were like cowboys. They had like Huey helicopters, and they would go out and do poppy eradication, and just some other, like, I never saw it myself, but just something like this ain't fucking Vietnam, don't lead them so much type shit. But you could see the poppy fields. They wouldn't touch those. They would go out and 10 miles away do poppy eradication, because this poppy is grown by their partners, whatever. I guess you don't want to mess, throw the beehive
too close to home.
Yeah.
So these are I guess these are poppy fields for Afghans that are helping. Yeah. And it's like
so the whole thing is like it just started going bad, and like the stuff I saw the second time I was out there, like I said, I'd build like a $25 million dorms and training facilities for the Afghan Air Force, and like they started to fly the little prop jobs and stuff, and like these motherfuckers grow up in like biblical type conditions. I mean, one of the reasons Afghanistan was the most dangerous place to fly in the world because there's no ground lights. And so flying at night anywhere else in the world, you have reference like ground lights. In Afghanistan, there's no fucking ground lights because there's not,
there's no power.
Yeah, I mean, there's like in Kabul, but elsewhere, But so they come in there, and we've got, they have their dorms and the bathrooms and their office spaces and everything. And then the first day, like they don't even know, like they go do their ablutions or wash their feet for prayer and stuff. They don't even know to turn the water off and not leave it running. The second day, all the fucking coppers ripped out of the whole fucking facility and sold.
They have Mexicans in Afghanistan?
Hey, dude, they're not doing it. I mean, the Mexicans aren't doing it out of their own homes. But, it's just, and I see this, plus the night letters, plus the, and then you get to talking to the guys, and they kind of just tell you, the Afghans will tell you, like, we have a 5-year plan. Like the whole hearts and minds thing is such bullshit. We have a 5-year plan. We're only going to be here 5 years. We're going to get this mission done. And the Afghans are like, we don't care if it's our kids or our kids' kids, but you will not rule us. You will not change us. You can't have a 5-year plan for that. And so that's exactly what happened. No matter anywhere we've gone and tried to do this stuff, especially Afghanistan, which is known as the graveyard of empires,
Russia had hell there too.
Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
That's where he ended, right? I mean, India, but that's where he got stuck mostly with Afghanistan.
Is it terrain or is it a mentality of the people?
It's a mentality and terrain. It's, by the way, Kandahar is named after Iskander, like Alexander. And there are aqueducts underground that they built that were still at that base. So
Wow.
when I was there, the north side of the base, there was a huge ammo dump with all the old Russian shit in it still, like Russian bombs, all kinds of shit up there. And then there was like a wet area, like reeds and stuff. And one time we had a fire out there, and all of a sudden these things start cooking off, like down in, and we go in there and finally get it out. And we go in there and these aqueducts that were underground that Alexander the Great built. The Afghans back in the day when we were helping them were coming up in the base, the Russian base, and the Russians just blew it, like caved it in, like because they were coming up in there stuff there. We found this stuff up there, and there was like, it was like tripwires and all kinds of like pineapple grenade type shit up there.
That's crazy.
Just old rounds, and you would see a bomb the size of this table, like a Russian one with all the Russian writing on it. They just left it there. And it was still on the north side of the base the first time I was down there. Second time I was down there, all that side of the base had been starting to be developed, so they finally cleaned it out. But,
So let me ask you this. If that's the culture, if that's the mentality of the people, we just talked about like the terrain, but if that's the mentality of the people,
mm-hmm.
What is the purpose? And I get we were chasing.
We were. I think what happened is originally, for whatever reason, we went in there, right? But after that, it became a way there was too much money being made. I mean, I saw this shit. I was out there,
Are there resources in Afghanistan? As far as like minerals and things like that?
Yeah, minerals.
100%.
Minerals, yeah. But they don't, the number one resource in Afghanistan to this day is opium. It's poppy.
I guess that and spending money on military equipment. So
us, yeah.
Yeah.
And all the money we were just spending money, not just on military, the stuff I was doing. I mean, it was over $1 billion in infrastructure that didn't mean shit.
I saw a guy do an interview shortly after we pulled out of Afghanistan. And I forgot what it was, like $88 billion they said that they left there. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because the guy, and he may have just been talking shit, hindsight's 2020, but he said, I knew we were going to leave all that there. He said, I knew we were. Yeah. And they said, what do you mean you knew you were going to leave all that equipment there? He goes, we don't need it. We want the new shit. We want the stuff that they're developing, the things that are already coming out. He said, we didn't need it, so we left it there.
That's not true.
I would agree with what he said.
Which was?
Well, because they still want some of the things that you would think they don't want, but really they want to make more, which is the money part.
So what was the purpose of leaving all that there, do you think, in your opinion?
The government, the people that were making decisions. So if you owned a company, right, and you had a big job out in Nevada, and you bought a bunch of like graders, like Caterpillar graders and dozers, and you took them out there to do that big job, would you bring them back here? Or would you just leave them out there and be like, okay, job's done?
I grew up in a small town. I'd probably bring them back.
Well, there's a cost associated with that mobilization.
You would bring them back because you're like, hey, I can make money doing this other stuff, right? With them, right? And you probably wouldn't have written them all off on that one job. You'd be like,
so it's more cost effective to leave?
No, it's because the people that are making decisions aren't making decisions with a profit in mind. They're making decisions with what's the least paperwork.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it was stupid.
Gotcha.
Because it wasn't just military equipment we left out there. We left like all the civil engineering equipment out there, like everything, generators, what gets the headlines is the, like the Stryker vehicles and the Humvees and all that kind of stuff that they're riding around in, but just the amount of money in like transformers and stuff that got left out there is just unbelievable. I mean, it's just because it's already paid for. It's the government. Government's paying for it. It's not like
taxpayers.
It's not like a company's going to pick it up that's not getting paid for it and bring it back and be like, hey, I'm gonna try to get a job. I'm gonna find a warehouse for this and try to get a job. Well, one, they're not equipped to bring it all back because the U.S. airlifted everything out there. But.
Well, I guess this is maybe where I'm naive. Is I sit there and go, and it's, I'm sure it's where I'm naive. I sit there and go, there's a group of people in Afghanistan who worked with the U.S., who put their lives on the line to help the U.S. to work with them, and or maybe even friendly to the U.S. And then there's a group of people over there that can't stand the U.S. And you've left so much equipment there that the people who are against you are going to take over and utilize. And who's going to suffer for that? The people that got left behind who were friendly to the U.S., And when you kind of look at it at that perspective, you really almost have to take any sort of like, I guess, caring for others out of it, because you know what's going to happen to them. I've heard stories of people when they were trying to pull people out and they were trying to get people out. I guess private companies were sending people in, and it's like I think they even got a hold of some database that had like names of people who were working on U.S. bases and stuff like that, and it's like, you've just killed them all, man.
Well, one, I'll tell you one, they didn't need databases. Let me ask you this. If somebody came over here, China, right, and made a takeover bid, and we're in George West, and like 10 people from George West went and helped them, would you know who those 10 people are?
Oh, yeah.
They don't need a database.
You're right.
They know. They know already. And like, even the ones that were helping us, they're getting paid, from the other side, I mean, it was... I can tell you, I was out in Gardez one time, and I'm flying out there checking on this job that we're doing, and it's out in the middle of nowhere, right? It's like an army base that we're building for them. And then it's got like a man camp with all the workers next to it, and then it's got another smaller man camp with like my guys that I'm like my project managers and those kind of stuff that are Canadian or South African or U.S. And I land and go out there, and these are all civilians. I'm wearing my uniform, walking around, and all the kids are coming up. Because they work their kids too. They're like little gophers and everything. And everybody's coming up, wanting to shake a hand, take a picture or whatever. Just walking around. And then I get back to the, man camp at night, grab dinner, go to my Connex, like a bunk, and all of a sudden we start getting mortared into our man camp from the fucking workers' man camp.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because then these workers, they don't have anything against you, but either they're going to be threatened to do it, like you do this or else, or they just pay $5. They don't give a shit, So it's
it's almost like a more extreme case of like what, and I'm not a specialist at what happens in Mexico, but I mean, fucking Mexico, it's like you're dirt poor. And they threaten to either shoot you or give you money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like, okay, well, I don't have anything anyway.
Yeah. It's a lot like that. Like, imagine going against. Now, the difference is that there's not anything really against the cartel, right? So they kind of have carte blanche a lot in terms of brutality or whatever. When we were in Afghanistan, you had big bad U.S. Army and U.S. Air Force and all this that, could retaliate. And so for them, you had a lot more people willing to play ball because they were making money too, right? They're getting all kinds of stuff. But versus, you got to think about the courage it takes in a place like northern Mexico, to stand up and try to do the right thing or try to get the country going in the right or stop corruption. I mean, you see what happens.
Yeah.
The amount of courage that takes is like, because there ain't nobody that you can go tattle to help you.
I've seen a few videos where there have been groups of people like in northern Mexico that like a town will band together, but it's always futile, man, because at the end of the day,
you're outgunned
big time, And then when I think about like the Middle East, or I think about Afghanistan, I've seen ex-military folks talk about and say, well, we didn't get attacked for 20 years, so that was the plus side.
No.
And it's kind of like when you sit there and you look at at it in its totality and in hindsight, you sit there and go, we were never going to stay there forever.
No. And they were willing to stay. They were willing to go as long as we wanted, even play ball, make money off of us. But they knew that at some point, because they did it to the Russians, they just bled them.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to you see the videos with people falling off the plane and you hear the stories of what was happening there at the base that day when they were trying to get everybody out, and you kind of look at it in hindsight, and we often think about what's best for people and doing the right thing, and a lot of times I sit there and I go, well, I get that whatever we described it as, maybe we were at one point we were chasing bin Laden, right, and then it turned into just something completely different, right, and you sit there and you go, as a person who wants to be compassionate, you sit there and go, well, what's the real compassion? It's in part, and I take things to extremes, right? Yeah. There's times where I'll see people like in Mexico, right? And it's like, okay, this cute kid comes up and dirty, and you want to give him money, and you give him $20, and then all of a sudden he gets beat up, and somebody else takes his $20.
Yeah.
It's like, did I do any good helping, or did I make it worse?
No, you made it.
So. That's crazy, man. So when you get out of that, you get in is the oil and gas business next?
Yeah. So I'm doing all that. I get out of the military because my wife, with all her medical school and everything, had a longer commitment. And at that point, like I said about
your smoking wife, let's refer to her
that's
correctly.
Right. My beautiful smoking wife to this day. So I decided I'm going to get out for a couple of reasons. One, I'm in the Middle East 9 months out every year because Air Force civil engineers, because like I said, Army and Navy didn't have that, what we had. And so we were, whether it was for Army and Navy support or Air Force, we were always out. And so I'm going to get out. She still has commitment. And I'm going to go start working the civilian side. That was part of it. The other part of it, like I told you before, is promotions and more responsibility in Air Force based on tenure versus performance. I mean, it's performance a little bit, but tenure is a minimum, and I wasn't going to do that. So I got out, went to work for this company that was building stuff like in Afghanistan, Iraq, for Department of State. I was part of their stuff. I was helping them out. And so as a civilian, it was funny, I almost immediately went back out because I was helping them put these bids together, and they got I won this huge job out in Helmand province.
Oh, right.
And so, but I'm not the one out there running it, I'm just helping them with it, kind of put it together. We have a main office in Dubai and a main office in Kabul. And so I go out, and I'm in Dubai quite a bit. And then I go into Kabul.
What is that feeling when you're like, hey, I'm going private sector, and they're like, welcome aboard. Don't leave. Stay where you're at.
Yeah. So I was in Dubai a lot, and then I'd be in Turkey because of the contractors I was bringing in there to do a bunch of stuff were Turkish contractors. And then I'd be in Afghanistan down there at the jobs doing different things and like making sure everything was in order, helping them get things together. And but yeah, we had like they're not mansions, but they're this large like multi-family homes in Kabul, like in the city. And we have guns at the front, Afghans. So I tell you, if shit went wrong, I'm pretty sure they're not going to lay down.
It looks good.
Yeah, so I was back out there just as a civilian quite a bit, and all around that area, like in Dumrayt, Oman, and doing a lot of stuff. Like I said, I spent a lot of time in Turkey, ran into him there while I was doing that kind of stuff. But I told the owners of the company, I was like, hey, the whole reason one of the reasons I got out was I was always over here, and I got a 2-year-old son and daughter on the way and all that. So he said, yeah, I've been meaning to do that. I've been meaning to talk to you about that. We need to diversify. We have our municipal side, which is really small, and we have our federal side, which is like 90% of the company at this point. He's like, I really feel like, and this was completely privately owned company. The shale boom was just starting, and it was really big in North Dakota, also some in Oklahoma. But he's like, I'd like you to put together a plan to start a business unit for the oil and gas construction, engineering construction. So I spent like 3 months putting a plan together with initial investment.
So at this point, you have no prior history in oil and gas.
None. It's not a lot different than what I did because, critical infrastructure, it's not a lot different. But I mean, I wasn't out there drilling for it, but in terms of when you're building pipelines and terminals and stuff, it's all the same stuff we built for like aircraft fueling and stuff on bases. But yes, it was still coming in cold. So I made phone calls to guys that I knew that were in the industry, kind of picked their brains a little bit, and there was a desperate need for contractors that could operate in North Dakota. So I flew out there, got a rental car, drove around, and I hate sales. I mean, it's not me.
Yeah.
And so having to do that was really hard for me, but I got over it. But I drove around, figured out what people needed, figured out where everything was, put a plan together, got it approved, as I told you earlier, not exactly what I wanted, a little bit more expectation within 12 months, and a little bit less initial capital. I think I asked for 10 million or 12 million, and they gave me 5. And I had I think my revenue the first year was supposed to be like 10 million. I was going to try to get some small jobs. Yeah.
Hold that thought. Let's take a pee break.
Okay.
I think where we left off was...
Yeah, so they had asked me to like put a plan together, and I got the plan approved. So I went, and it was modest, conservative. I was going to go out, get a few little small jobs, and do this. But and this is really when I started working with Andre. And I'll tell you, like when you talked about kind of where did I develop the way I look at things, the first was my first time in Afghanistan because I was the commander of my unit out there. And unlike everywhere else where there's like doctrine and certain ways to do things, there it was war, right? And there wasn't the ability to be like, well, we got to go through the red tape. You just had to get shit done. And I know like enlisted guys and stuff, they always have to figure out ways to, but this is at the upper levels, like putting projects together, doing different things. Like there was no help. It was just like, you got to get this shit done, so figure it out. Go beg, steal, and borrow, and do all this kind of stuff. And here's the guys you got.
Did that come natural to you, or is that something you think you developed?
It was intimidating when I first got there. I was just like, I haven't been trained for this, It was like the last time I ever felt that, because within the first week, I mean, it was blowing and going, and we were doing stuff, and just, you could tell everybody was like, from other countries were like, holy shit, how do y'all do this and all this kind of stuff. And the more I got comfortable with just not having any rules and doing whatever we wanted to do and getting shit done, I realized like, why were we putting these restrictions on ourselves before? But even then, I'm still in the military. There's still all kinds of, I couldn't just fire somebody, or hire somebody. I got what I got. And so that was the first thing that kind of started me the way I am now. And then when I got out and I went and started this oil and gas business unit, it was just me and a plan initially. Then I went to North Dakota, I bought property, built a facility and a man camp, and then I started having to hire people and ask them to do some crazy shit, like just, hey, move to here, I'm going to pay you this, and what can you do?
What's the process for finding the site?
Not just find,
to say, hey, this is where we're going to set up a man camp. This is where the work was. Were there other companies in that area?
Yeah,
or did you do
Williston. I knew where the hub was.
Okay.
The hub was already becoming Williston, but you kind of had to fly into Minot, and it's a 3 or 4 hour drive. I mean, it's
about 3 hours. Yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
So somebody's already
with
done
nothing between it.
Geological report saying, hey, this is where
we weren't drilling for oil. The guys that were drilling for and producing oil were the guys that were my customers. So I was out there building like tanks, pipeline infrastructure for
so
them.
Think of the plumbing,
like midstream,
Gotcha.
like pipeline companies here, like that.
Okay.
But I wasn't. Later in life, I was the operator, the owner-operator of the asset. There, I was a contractor helping them build it.
Gotcha.
So went out there and started doing that, and it went from like in I want to say 2 years. It went from like me and a plan to me and 400 people and doing like 100 million a year. It was just like, even the people say you grow too fast, like those kind of problems,
How
because
do you wrap your head around 400 million?
I don't necessarily agree with you there.
what do you mean?
I don't think we grew too fast. We didn't have the support from the other
Oh,
end. We were doing well.
yeah. But what I mean is, by the time the corporate, like I told you, I think it wasn't on the podcast, but we were talking earlier, and I say the federal, whenever the U.S. pulled everything into Kabul, like all the federal jobs, which was still 75% of the company, just went. So all of a sudden, the revenue stopped coming in, but the bills didn't. They started shaving off my revenue to help pay their bills and short paying my contractors and stuff. And so obviously I had a problem with that, and that's why I ended up leaving. But when I say grow too fast, because you need people so fast that you can't be choosy. You can't grow like, hey, we don't necessarily need another guy, but this guy's so good, we're going to find something for him. I hired, like when I said we were up to 400 people or whatever, I probably fired like 300. And once I got big enough with guys like Andre and Jeremy, my brother, and another guy, Jeff, who's his partner right now with their company, like then they started doing that. But initially, I was even like, I had to fly up to North Dakota. The very first guy I put in charge was a guy that the company gave me. Old guy, been with them forever. And he was up there running my North Dakota stuff, which is where most of our stuff was initially. And it started going bad. And so I flew up there, drove from Minot 3.5 hours to the shop, went in there, told him like, hey, I'm replacing you with this guy that used to work for you. Get your stuff. Here's your plane ticket. And I drove him back after terminating this guy that had been forever, Drove him back like 3.5 hours to Minot.
How'd he take it?
It was strange because he, like on the way back, he apologized to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You never know how it's going to go.
So he knew that he wasn't doing what he needed to do.
I don't think he did. I think some people have like emotional intelligence and empathy where they know it's uncomfortable and he's trying to not make it uncomfortable.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, because then he started asking me.
That's almost a guy you wouldn't rehire.
Yeah. He was asking me stuff like, did I think the flares were more bright when there was a full moon? Because there was just flares everywhere out there. They're burning gas off. It was just weird stuff.
He couldn't handle the awkward silence.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. But anyway, the guy I put in charge was, he knows him pretty well. He had his own drawbacks, but he was a go-getter. And it ended up, growing. But anyway, like I said, that kind of went by the wayside. I left and ended up at Plains All American, which is like a Fortune 100 midstream company, still to this day a great company. And initially went in there, and in the engineering side, but I want to say within a year and a half, I was like running the operation for half the country. Like if you drew a line from Midland straight north to Canada, I had everything all the way to the East Coast.
Wow.
Operating that. So that was another thing I got thrown into. But when I was telling you the two things that really kind of changed how I look at things, first was Afghanistan. The second was growing that business unit. Whenever the company didn't know anything about oil and gas, so it was me with just a
and you were still learning that too.
Yeah, and it was I'd never run a commercial business unit, and so I had to figure everything out. It was, because there was nobody to pass, the profit and loss up to and say, okay, now you explain it. It was just me.
Yeah.
And so every little cost and every little strategy that we did, you had to come out, there's nobody else doing it. So I learned a lot there, and that's kind of really where I thought, like, there's nothing that, you see guys like Elon Musk and these guys that there truly is like nothing stopping people from doing whatever they want if they just want to put the effort into it. You can learn anything nowadays, the internet, whatever.
So let me ask you this: when you're talking about the oil and gas side, and we were talking a little bit earlier, What is the difference between oil and gas in the United States, Venezuela, Middle East?
When you say the United States, I'm assuming you're probably talking about WTI. Now, let me tell you how complicated it is.
You're sounding confusing like the girl I talked to earlier from the Air Force.
If you ask somebody right now, what's the price of oil? They're going to give you the daily price of WTI at Cushing. It's called the WTI index. It's actually
West
called the
Texas.
NYMEX. It's called the NYMEX index. So the NYMEX WTI price is what you can buy a barrel of. This is where it gets really crazy. It's not even truly WTI, which is West Texas Intermediate. The NYMEX WTI price is actually the price for a barrel of domestic sweet at Cushing, Oklahoma. Up until a few years ago, that was what everybody priced off of here.
What is domestic sweet?
It is a low sulfur barrel. Domestic sweet is a low sulfur barrel that's between like 36 and 42 degrees API. It's a gravity, so it floats on water, but
So does that mean that it's easier to refine?
no.
It's more difficult.
It's easier that it's low sulfur.
Okay.
Because when you have sulfurs in that, you have to like coke. Like you see the big towers with all the black stuff all over them. That's the coking tower. A lot of if you're just doing like a sweet barrel, you don't have to have some of these processes. And so like a heavy barrel, that would be closer to the density of water. That's like a heavy barrel. It could be like anywhere from a 15 to 30 degree API. That's not temperature. That's like weight, density. So the amount that the refining processes that it takes to break that up is higher pressure, higher temperature, a few more processes. So you see bigger refineries. But the U.S. actually produces all kinds of oil. But what you're used to seeing is like a WTI, which is a sweet. But even in Midland, and there's a WTS, which is West Texas sour, which has high sulfur. That's all that means. Sour versus sweet, or intermediate.
Is there a benefit to having a high sulfur content or no?
No.
Okay.
Not really.
So it's beneficial to have a lower sulfur content.
Yeah.
And when they take a barrel of oil, it's not like, hey, we're going to take a barrel of oil and make it a barrel of gasoline. It breaks up differently, right?
Yeah,
So
the yields.
The barrel.
Yeah, the yields.
And what are they getting out of a barrel as far as its content? Because there's you're going to get jet fuel, you're going to get gasoline.
Yeah, you get jet, you get kerosene, you get gasoline, you get diesel, you get asphalt, at the very bottom. You get naphtha at the very top. So yeah, and different crudes have different amounts of those when you break them up. So, like the heavier barrels.
Sounds very complicated, man.
It is. And if you think about it, there hasn't been a new refinery built in the United States in probably 40 plus years, right? Maybe more. I don't know. But the U.S. refineries were originally mostly built to refine imported crudes. So like the Mayans, Venezuelan crudes, those, like the Citgo refinery down in Corpus is made for Venezuelan crudes, obviously. Citgo's a Venezuelan company until it got taken away from them recently. But
they're supposed to. There was talk that they were.
Yeah, they've been. I think the bankruptcy court is still messing around with all that to this day.
Well, I think there was talk about them maybe building a new refinery in Brownsville.
Yeah,
which sounds kind of cool.
I think they actually are. I've actually worked with some of those guys because they were looking for a pipeline from Corpus down there. But yeah, they're looking to do a refinery. It's a small one, and they have some other stuff down there too.
So I guess
NextEra, maybe. I'm not trying to remember who it is.
I guess for people like me or just laymen, when we sit there and we go, hey, we went into Venezuela, we're controlling that. We took a tanker from Cuba. We're still getting crude from the Middle East. We always hear, well, we've got enough oil here that it would last us forever. And I think a lot of people go, well, then why is gas so high?
Yeah.
But it's like, well, there's a lot to the way it's refined. And I guess it does the need for a certain portion of that refined crude dictate how much they process. Like, let's say, I'm just pulling this out of my ass, but let's say they need a whole lot of jet fuel for something. You know, maybe we've gone into another war. We need planes. We need all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Does the refinery kick up, and then now you end up with more gasoline, more tar, more asphalt?
Yes, but the refineries, for the most part,
I guess they have a capacity too.
They do, and most of them run at full capacity already. Very few of them run lower. Maybe during COVID, some of them went down when the demand really fell off. But for the most part,
so then our problem is
it's
refining.
very balanced. Huh?
Is our problem refining more than anything? Like the capacity to refine?
No, because well, yes and no. So one, it's where are you getting it from, right? So anything priced like if I told you, hey, I'll sell you 10 gallons of gas for $5, you'd probably buy it. But then I'll tell you, but you got to pick it up in Alaska. You know, so there's logistics costs that get added on to different things. And you'll see where you don't see so much swings anymore. And people, I know everybody thinks gasoline's expensive, but it's actually one of the few things that has not gone up like everything else. I mean, think about it, right? 20 years ago, a $2.50 gas wasn't that big of a deal. Right? I mean,
yeah.
Hell, in the early 80s,
I do remember paying 99 cents at a Circle K in Corpus and being pissed off.
Yeah.
Because it was like 79, before that.
But. Yeah, but you think back in the early 80s, it was like $4 a gallon.
Yeah.
And do you know what gas is? Petrol, what they call it. But in Europe,
it's about a liter. Yeah.
It's like 3 times the cost of ours.
Really?
You wonder why they all have small cars and have mass transportation. And then there's places, here in the world still where gas is 99 cents a gallon. But the reality is, from a crude oil perspective, is even though we produce a lot here, we're on the international market, right? We have all kinds of export terminals. Corpus is the largest export port in the country.
Do we, and I don't expect you to know the exact amount, but do we export a fair amount of oil and gas or crude? Yeah. Do we send a lot out or do we not?
We do.
We do, okay.
Yeah, but we import a lot too. We're a net exporter.
Okay.
Yeah. But in Corpus, I want to say we were doing...
What's the difference? Why are we... And I guess maybe it's the type.
The type.
Why are we... Okay, so that's why we import some.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, kind of. Because a lot of refineries are in California, for example, and they won't let anybody build pipelines. And so they import their crudes. Just things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have different qualities for one. So, and again, all these refineries, a lot of them were built whenever they were doing the heavier crudes. And you do get more diesel, more jet out of a heavier barrel. The light barrels, which is like a 42 plus gravity, they produce more naphtha, more gasoline. So, but yeah, I mean, you think about something like, most people don't think about this, but how much that bottle of water cost you?
Probably, I think this is like $1.50.
How many of those are in a gallon?
Fuck.
You see?
Hey, I told you already I did the pre and informal maths.
Yeah, I mean, people pay more for a bottle of water, like 10 times as much as they do for gasoline.
Well, I saw somebody one time kind of try to make a point. They were like, and I get it, but they were like, you're paying $4, let's say, a gallon of gas. Uh-huh. And it was interesting because they said, but you're paying $6 for a gallon of milk. And I said, yeah, but I don't need 25 gallons of milk at a time.
That's right.
That's
right.
But I guess one thing that always flusters me a little bit is the idea and the concept of us getting away from oil and gas, getting away from crude and going electric. And it's like, you always hear that, and California always drives that. But it's like, by 2035 we're going to full electric. No way. You're doing rolling blackouts every summer. It's like,
yeah.
So I guess for people that push that, is that something that's feasible in the future, or
it's not feasible?
It's not feasible at all.
I mean, yes, more. Listen, my family's a Tesla fan. We got 3 Teslas, right? I don't do it because it's an electric car. I do it because it's the most badass machine. I mean, from just everything about it, right?
I do have a 2013 Toyota Tundra, so I mean, I understand how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, but when I first bought my Cybertruck, this was 2 or 3 years ago, I kept my Cummins diesel, and I was going to like drive them half and half, but it's so easy to drive a Tesla, and they're so convenient. And I just plug it in when I get home, and it drives like a supercar. My first one had like 650 horsepower. The one out there has 850. It's the bigger one. And it'll drive itself. Like from right here, I can tell you, let's go home, push a button. I never touch it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do on the way home.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I'd get all kinds of grief, right? Because you're like, how can a chief operating officer of an oil and gas company, have an electric car? I'm like, you can run your house off diesel generator. Why don't you do that instead of, But I don't do it for like sustainability or any other.
You do it because it's badass.
I do it because it's a better machine.
Yeah.
Right. So, but there's a couple things. One, as technology comes along, more and more vehicles will be electric, right? The same way like golf carts and stuff will be, are now. As things go more and more, and like technology gets better, they'll do it. But
what is the charging time on it? Isn't it like 30 minutes or something?
Yeah, if I'm at one of the superchargers, yeah. But it's convenient. Initially, when I got it, I had the same like range anxiety as everybody else. But I go to Houston, I go to San Antonio, Corpus, whatever.
Can you get there and back?
No.
Okay.
You got to charge. But the other thing that people don't think about, because they only think about cars. What do you think all this shit's made out of? Your phone, every piece of plastic you've ever come across, that's hydrocarbons. And so even if you're not making gasoline, because one of the byproducts of hydrocarbons are all the plastics, and they send them to crackers.
They use it for makeup too and
tires,
stuff like that.
Yeah, everything. No, like everything, all your clothes, everything.
Because it's big. Is that what you're saying?
No, everything is made out of hydrocarbon,
yeah.
like polymers now. All this kind of stuff. So you would still have to produce the oil. So maybe we're just burning gasoline off. Like, right now, when, what they call natural gas in the Permian? Associated gas.
What does that mean?
It means they're not drilling for it, but they're getting it.
Oh, okay.
They want the oil. And they used to flare everything off. That's what they were doing.
Oh, gotcha.
And you talk about all the flaring and stuff. That's what they're talking about. Because it was so worthless that they'd flare it rather than gather it and use it, for natural gas. So now, regulation and stuff there was a couple things. Initially, it was the environmental nuts that were all against it, right? But what really turned the tide, where even Texas now, you can't flare like that. Because quite frankly, one of these volcanoes you see does like 100 years of that.
Oh,
just
wow.
one. So that didn't really move the needle. What moved the needle was the fucking royalty holders, the landowners. Like, you're fucking burning my hydro, because they only get paid based on what the companies drill and sell.
Oh, gotcha.
And so they're like, you're burning my hydrocarbons for free, and I'm not getting them. You have to start paying me for that. And so that's what really drove the regulation.
So they said, if we're going to spend money on this, we may as well utilize it.
Well, because you're going to have to pay the landowner for it. Even still right now, whether it's oil or natural gas, it gets priced at a hub, like where a buyer can go buy it, like a bulk buyer or whatever. Like, that's why Cushing or Midland, these are like hubs where there's actually a market for it. The main hub for natural gas on the Gulf Coast is called Henry Hub. The other one that you'll hear is Houston Ship Channel, right? So those typically match pretty close. Waha is out west of Midland, south of or near Wink. It's the natural gas hub out there. It is a negative price right now.
Really?
And the only way it can go negative is if the regulation makes them, so they got all this gas, they got to sell it. People may don't want to buy it, so they're actually paying people to take it. So it's a negative price. If you ever go look at prices and stuff, the natural gas price in West Texas at the Waha hub is a negative number right now. And it was actually, when COVID first hit, crude oil went negative.
When Bo's dad was working oil and gas, he said he said there was so much oil, we didn't care about the shale. The shale's always been there.
Yeah, conventional.
We just ignored it.
Yeah.
And
They didn't know how to get it out.
yeah.
It was not economic to get out.
So when the process changed and the economics changed, all of a sudden they were going after shale. Well, you think that'll ever be the same for natural gas? Well, because it sounds like
Shell's natural gas. I mean, a lot of
I guess what's priced negatively? It's like it seems like here's an energy source, whatever its efficiency is or whatever our capacity to use it is one thing. But it's like here's an energy source that's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, that is why data centers and stuff are going in West Texas, because they're trying to build natural gas power plants out there, and now all the midstream companies and stuff, especially the ones that deal with natural gas, are starting to put like cogen plants out, power plants, and then the data centers out in the middle of nowhere where all these things are.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, but even then, there's so much natural gas. I mean, they can't build pipelines fast enough to get it out of there. Because if there was a pipeline out there right now, the reason it goes negative is because more and more gas gets produced, and it gets ahead of the pipelines that can take it out. And so,
do you think we'll ever end up where? And I guess I get that everybody's got this negative reaction toward like nuclear, but
there's no reason to.
There's no reason to go nuclear because
there's no reason to be negative about it. It's just marketing.
So do you? In your opinion, do you think that there ever been a time where, we skip we bypass the crude and the natural gas and just go nuclear? Because it's my understanding it's cleaner and it's more efficient from what I understand.
It's cleaner until it's not.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like until something goes bad, like Chernobyl or whatever. But or 3 Mile Island, back in the day.
But even those, like in hindsight, it's like, how bad was it?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to sound that way, right?
Well, when you're far away, it's not. But if it's your bloodline, that's wiped out for the next whatever. But
I guess when I sit there and I look at, you remember the train that derailed in what was it, Pennsylvania, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and I guess it was a train wreck and all that crude or whatever that biohazard. It was all over the place. Ended up in the water and all over the place. It's like, nobody really gives a shit about that anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of, the locals do. Yeah. But it's like, okay, well, where is our capacity for saying, hey, that's an acceptable amount of damage that's worth cheaper energy, more availability?
Well, that's the decision. I mean, that is a decision that's been made. We're still sending the shit by rail and all that. But people don't realize there's a derailment in the country every day. Sometimes, whenever all the media is against oil and gas, if it's oil and gas, it gets all the coverage.
Oh, gotcha.
But I think nuclear, especially now because they're looking at micronuclear and all of that. I think at some point, and I think right now we're in the middle of some momentum being built on that. It's got to be part of the equation for sure. It's less part of the equation than it was 20 years ago. I still to this day cannot fathom what Germany was thinking, like taking their perfectly good nuclear reactors down, and now every bit of industry is leaving that country because they can't compete. Because if it costs you 10 times as much from a power perspective to produce a widget, it's going to be built in the U.S. or India or somewhere else. And that's what's happening.
When did Germany end up doing that?
They just did it like
recently.
Their last one 10 months ago or something, and already their prime minister said, I don't know why we did that. We were stupid. It was almost like they made the decision 5 years ago and just nobody had the courage to stop it.
You know what bothers me about people? And I'm sure we've talked about it on one of these podcasts that we've done together, but we'll talk about, we'll use Mandami in New York, right? It's like, I'm not the smartest guy on the planet, right? But I like patterns. Mm-hmm. And I can sit there and go, this is a bad idea, And maybe not just him, but other things. You sit there and go, I've talked to people who are a little bit more liberal. I'm more of a conservative thinker. And it's kind of like, I always tell people, look, when the left or liberal people pull to the left, we always let it go to a certain extent. And then when it gets real bad, we pull back to the right. Yeah. But we never pull it back to where it was center.
Yeah.
It's always still a little bit farther to the left.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like being a parent, right? You tell your kids and you say, hey, don't touch the stove because it's hot.
Yeah. That's mostly on social issues, by the way.
Yes.
Not so much financial or economics.
Yes. Because I feel like everybody involved in financial and economics, they could, math.
You can't lie about it. You're right. It's math.
And that never lies.
I don't know what it was, but maybe right after World War II but at one point the top income tax bracket was like 90% tax.
Wow.
And we came back all the way from that down to whatever. So that's what I'm saying, like economic policy can shift, but what you're talking about, the social shit, it's the Overton window.
Yeah.
You know that?
No, explain that to me, but it sounds like what I'm
The Overton window is, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but it's like what acceptable consensus thoughts are, and the left has been really good at always shifting it. Like you're saying, like it's shifted way over here, so what seems like right
still left.
It's still 10 years ago was
Yeah.
left. But now you're like, I think the last few years, especially with kind of Twitter being unlocked and stopped being censored and all that kind of stuff, it's starting to shift. Finally shift back. But you're right, normally.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at Mandami in New York, it's like
Crazy.
September 11th, right? That was 25 years ago. Yeah. And now they're doing call to prayers, in Times Square.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't understand, and it's a different generation, right? Because those people 25 years ago are now 25 years older, and the kids who have no idea what it looked like watching people jump out of a burning building are now sitting there going, yeah, why not let people, come here and do prayer in the streets? And it's like, it always bothers me because we always have to touch the fucking hot stove, And it's like, I wish as a society, we could look at that together and go, let's not fucking touch the hot stove.
Especially you can look over at Europe and be like, let's not do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it's unfortunate. And it everything's similar to this, right? Like, even when we get into the border and we get into, like, ICE, like, I've had conversations with people. And, the conversation always starts, and that's usually where I get real heated and hot-headed, and then I get super passionate, and then it takes me out of my cool spot. But it's kind of like a lot of people I've talked to, they go, well, look what ICE is doing to people. They're pulling people out of their homes, and they're shipping them out, and, people have gotten shot. And I sit there and go, where's the responsibility of the governor in that state, right? When Tom Holman tells you, hey, let us go get these people. We'll send 2 officers. We'll go to the courthouse. We'll pull them out of jail. We'll arrest them there, and we'll take them away. Right. Or I got to send 16 guys in the neighborhood to get this guy, and then when we're there, we're going to take everybody.
Well, the thing to me, and it's like a large portion of the country. Are you familiar with the term useful idiot?
Oh, yeah.
I thought such a large percentage of people are that way now, and so the media can make them believe anything. So if you ask that same person, like, hey, I'm going to go to Mexico. I'm not gonna be a citizen. I'm gonna wave the American flag and like raise hell and do all that kind of stuff. And do you think that they have the right to like send me back to the U.S.? And they'll say, yes, absolutely, it's their country. But they won't hear because the media has told them that's not acceptable. But they know, like if you applied that to any other country that they're sympathetic to, they would say that's their right. You can't go there. What are you, a colonizer or whatever,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do not understand. The only way I can understand that people can't like apply that in the way they think across the board instead of just one specific instance is because they've fallen into that kind of like cognitive dissonance where they don't have their own thoughts anymore, and it's whatever the machine tells, like pull the chip out and put the new what you're mad at chip in.
And man, that's where I always go back to public schools, man.
Yeah.
And especially nowadays, like there's so many smart kids that are regurgitators. Yeah. Right? And
they don't think for themselves.
They don't think for themselves. And a lot of times I think that's by design. My wife's in public school. It's funny because like when when they were talking about vouchers, you know, a lot of people that I know that are involved in public school, they were not happy about it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like when I talk to them, they talk about these teachers that don't do their job well, but won't get fired. You know, they move them to another school or they move them to another class. There was one school that I won't mention, but it was interesting because the administration didn't get along with certain teachers. Like after a while, they didn't like how they communicated or however they did it. But instead of firing them, they would go, you know what, you've been a third grade teacher for 10 years. You're teaching kindergarten next year. Yeah. You know, well, that teacher would go, fuck, I don't want to teach kindergarten, you know, and they'd leave. And it's that passive, 3 jobs ago for me, it's that passive firing thing.
Yeah.
You know,
flicking the booger.
Yeah, it's just like, we don't.
They just keep flicking the booger.
We're just pushing it down the road. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, let's just make it uncomfortable and you left on your own. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you know, you've got a specialty in something. He's got a specialty in something else. I don't like you. I fire you. Guess what? You're doing his job. You have no clue how to do it. I still need you to do his job. And so you go do his job and you're terrible at it and you hate it. You're stressed out. You tell your wife, I can't do his job. I've never done it before. I do my job and I've done that for 20 years. So then you decide to leave. Yeah. And it's like, that's how I see the public school system. Like there's no effort to go, let's make quality thinkers. Let's make people that are going to be able to go out there and no matter what happens to them, they'll figure it out and they'll be able to take care of
Classic liberalism.
That's what we end up with. We end up with, hey.
No. Like a classic liberalism is like reasoning. It got co-opted into liberals, but
I see what you're
saying. A liberal thinker is like the French that came up with democracy.
You know?
Yes. Yeah.
But
we don't teach that anymore.
But now we teach victimism, victimhood, right?
The victim pyramid.
The reason you're not successful is because everything's against you. Yeah. You know, and it's like, it's funny because I always say that like our generation fell in this weird place where we were on the tail end of something, but at the very beginning of something. And with everything, it's with computers, it's technology, music. I feel like we were on the tail end of something, but at the beginning, even with our drafting, right? We were manual drafting at one point, then we went into CAD. Yeah. You know, everything was like that.
We were like the last ones to grow up without social media.
Yes.
Because when we were just out of high school is when like MySpace and all that shit hit.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. But, you know, it's kind of one of those things where I just wish people were more, and especially, and sometimes I feel we got a lot of Generation X parents that are really good parents. But then I feel like we got a lot of Generation X parents who really fucked it up. Mm-hmm. You know, my dad, I remember having buddies when they were having kids, they were saying, he's my buddy, he's going to be my friend.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, my dad made absolutely certain that we were not friends.
Yeah, that wasn't his job.
You know, he was like, you don't talk to me the way you talk to your friends, you talk to me with respect.
Yeah.
There was always this definitive line between us and authority. And you know what? It didn't matter. You know, maybe you misunderstood with an adult. You know, you still had to show respect.
Yeah.
You know, and then we kind of, I've had friends that have told me even when their kids were little, they'd say, my kid doesn't have to respect anybody that doesn't respect him.
That's crazy.
And it's like, he's fucking 3.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so there was that weird mentality.
They're not doing him a favor. That's
no. And you know, those kids luckily have turned out well.
Really?
Well, I think
honestly, really?
Maybe not, but they're not as disrespectful as I expected them to become. You know? And I think a lot of that was influenced by their peers and being embarrassed to act like a little shit in front of their buddies. You know? I think even for us, we'd hammer each other.
So you know these kids now?
Yeah.
What box do they fall in, conservative or liberal?
No, they're going to be liberal.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
They're going to be liberal, but you know what? I think
that's what I wanted to know.
A vast majority are going to be liberal because I feel like it's more appealing. You know?
It's easier.
You know, hey, eat dessert. Fuck your vegetables. You know? I'm a fat guy. I got the same mentality, but you know, there's that, hey, do you want to, this is a weird thing. We were talking about jobs earlier in my prior work history, you know, and being the donkey, right? Being the burro. Yeah. And it's like, I took pride in that because my dad was a hard worker,
Yeah.
right? And so I want to be a hard worker. And then it gets to the point where it's like I start taking a sense of pride that all of a sudden in a room full of 10 guys, they're not like me.
Yeah.
And I take pride in that. But then after a while, I find myself in a room with 100 guys, and they're not like me.
Yeah.
And then I'm in a room with 1,000 guys, and they're not like me, and I go, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. You know, I got to go back to George West people to go, oh, okay, there's the familiarity.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny how so many of us have stayed connected.
Yeah.
You know, over years and years and years, and I've met some cool people. There's a lot of cool people, good people out there. Some of them are liberal, that I still get along with them, but like, they're not made the same way we were made in the place that we grew up. And I don't know if that's like that job I told you that where we all worked hard together and it was a rare thing. It was just luck. Yeah. But it's like after a while, and this is where I get negative, it's like I want to be a positive influence to other dudes, right? Mm-hmm. Even younger guys. But then I get to a certain point where I turn into our fathers, where it's like all of a sudden, as a guy, it takes effort to maintain this. Because it's so easy for us to go, I'm just going to do my own thing. Yeah. I'm going to stay at the house by myself.
I'm telling you, if it wasn't for this guy, none of you guys would hear from me.
Oh, I'd be the same way.
There's no doubt.
Yeah,
I have to drag him places. Then he's like, oh, I had a good time.
I'm like, even right now, the only people I'm still staying in touch with every once in a while, like guys I went to Air Force Academy with, but other than that, and even that, maybe it's like once every 4 months, maybe a text or something. But like the George West guys are the guys that, him, obviously my brother.
Yeah.
But Sean Temez, Jeff Trabola, Chad McNeil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all good dudes.
Yeah.
Trey Moffitt's over there in New Braunfels, and Bo's right over here, and Lee's on the other side. James comes
Lee
to town.
now. We play golf with Lee.
Lee, there's Lee and Mondo.
Yeah.
I love making fun of those guys. But it's funny because, like, when I married my wife, I'm not going to say I lost contact with my buddies, but, you spend more time with your wife, your kids.
Yeah.
You start doing that thing. And it's interesting because now everybody's kids are grown. They've gone off to college. Maybe they're done with college. And it's this funny thing where now we've gravitated. It's like Mercury, right? Mm-hmm. We start gravitating back to each other. And it's the same shit that it's always been, And I'm thankful for that. But at the same time, it's like, we're fucking dinosaurs, right? Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's like, I can't help but think that liberalism is going to win out because it's so much easier. It's so much easier to play victim. It's so much easier to kind of do your own thing. You're going to have like y'all's children, which I think, I haven't met yours. Oh, I met yours once. I've seen Lincoln and your daughter. And it's like, there's still these, and this is what I always tell electric cars. We'll get back to that. Because I sit there and look at electric cars, and I do have a thought about this, but I'll tell you in a minute. But I go, there's always going to be there's always going to be Sheldon Wapple that wants to do burnouts. There's always going to be that kid with a Metallica jacket smoking weed behind the dumpster.
The mullet.
And it's like with the mullet. And it's like with your kids where it's like even Bo's told me, he's like, and Bo's got a different perspective. Bo's like, dude, you'd be surprised. A lot of these kids are conservative. A lot of these kids are very
Mine are.
religious
My
too.
kids are 100%. Like, they might be even more than I am.
Really? And that's what
and
Bo
my
says.
son is the burnout kid. Hopefully he's not the weed kid behind the shed, but
He is a burnout kid.
Which makes me feel good, right? Yeah. But it's like, I guess the squeaky wheel gets oil. Like, you see more of the crap, right? But I think I'm hoping that we end up in this area where there's that generation of kids that go, this is stupid, and I'm not doing it.
No.
And that's what I hope the future has. But
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't,
we'll be gone.
Yeah, it'll be over. No, I'm just saying, like, if the rest of the country goes like Mamdani, because he's a communist. Mm-hmm. I know they say socialist. There's no difference.
No.
But if it goes that way, it's done.
What bothers me is, like, sometimes I feel like Florida is out Texasing Texas.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the governor.
they are right now.
I don't know if it's the governor. Like, I've always liked Abbott. I've always wanted like Abbott.
It's the governor.
But it's the more and more I go, what's he doing, man?
No, you'll see every once in a while, like you see this stuff on Twitter. They try to make him like a firebrand, like the new, like Trumpism and all that, where they just fucking bull in a china shop. But if you actually go look and like he lets things through that are, it's old, good old boy Texas conservatives, which used to be the Texas Democrats, like LBJ. That's kind of what he is. Mm-hmm. I mean, he doesn't really go to bat for the stuff that you see Florida going to bat for.
Yeah, and this is one thing that I always in the back of my head, and I'm not by any means saying this has to happen or whatever, but I always kind of go back to like the border and my sister. There was a certain point where you heard about all these bailouts in George West, right? And my conversation with folks when we would talk about that topic was, there's a middle-aged, overweight lesbian out in the middle of nowhere with a gun on her hip. And because we haven't protected the border the way we were supposed to have, one day she might be in a position where she's got to defend herself. And hopefully she'll be on the positive side of that outcome, but it will impact her life forever.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen because we didn't do our job as a federal government, because at one point Texas put razor ribbon and the federal government went out there and lifted it up with a fork truck. Crazy. And it's like, because of that, it's going to put this overly attractive, heavy-set, middle-aged lesbian with a gun on her hip potentially in a position where she has to defend herself.
Yeah.
I see the same thing with the influx of Muslim folks, right? It's like you get to a point where it becomes overpopulated, and it's the same game plan, man. I watched 90 Day Fiance. Love that shit. And there's so many white women that go and they chase a Middle Eastern guy, a guy who's a Muslim, and it's the same thing every fucking season, even though it's different people. Hey, you can wear whatever you want. We can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Then they get married. They move them over here. They get here. They get their green card. And now you got to wear a burqa. Now you got to cover up. And the girls always say, well, he always told me I didn't have to. Yeah. And now he's telling me I have to. But he's doing it for me, keeping me safe. Yeah. And it's like...
This is a real show?
Oh, fuck yeah. I love it, man.
And that happens?
Oh, every episode. Every episode.
I don't. But I don't know. Sorry.
But that's the same process that happens in New York, and it'll happen in Texas. Mm-hmm. Where they go. Well, they just want to be. They just want to have a community. They just want to build a church. They just want to have a neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, well, now we've got Sharia law. I've read some stuff or seen podcasts where like there's even Asian communities that have their own law enforcement and courts. Yeah. In the United States. Well, fuck. What are we doing?
I'll say the Islam's really good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like that isn't just happening by chance.
We also have a very fucking stupid section of the population in this country.
Yeah, they won't see it till it's too late. But
yeah.
But yeah, China's really good at it. We were just down in Costa Rica, and it's the same story I heard in South Pacific and every other little country we've been to, where they go and they buy the government and the police departments like equipment, and they fix bridges and it's called the Belt and Road. That's what China calls it, the Belt and Road. So they go and invest in infrastructure free, gratis.
Yeah, they were doing that in Africa quite a bit.
Yeah, they do it in Africa. They do it everywhere. South America, Central America, although right now, if you've noticed, Department of State and everything is really focused on rooting all of that out of South America. And they're having a lot of success doing that, but even now they're still down there. So they go do all this, and then they also they'll do like a little grocery store. And then, like little family-run grocery store. They never even like learn the language. And then they put the Costa Rican mom and pop, out of business, and they start to just grow and grow. And then the only grocery stores in the country now are all Chinese, And so, I mean, that's their whole thing where you become dependent. Mm-hmm. And they don't have to pay taxes and that kind of stuff because China invested in them and got them to agree not to do that, and it's going to be great. And all of a sudden, they can't do anything for themselves, and they're beholden to China. And China can use these little seemingly private, commerce, but they're Chinese citizens, and so, but in China, everybody's part of the government.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and Islam does that.
That raises something. I have a question for you guys.
What China doesn't do is they don't go in and they're very, they don't come in and create burden on the government. So they don't come in and those people that are running those grocery stores start doing scams on welfare. A lot of times because those countries don't give out welfare, but Islam will use the West's largesse against it. They come in, they have 10 kids and don't work and just get, every welfare you can get. They're like, hey, you're going to give it to me. And they use it against you. And then before you know it, you got Dearborn,
Sure.
We've been up there. There's no English signs.
I sent him and a couple other buddies this thing I'd seen on. I took it off of Grok or something, but I didn't realize this till I saw a different podcast, and they were talking about Section 8 housing programs.
That's been around for a long time.
Well,
Section 8 has.
The part that I didn't realize was there's a portion of Section 8 that they'll allow them to buy their own home. So basically, you go buy a house, you end up on Section 8. Instead of them saying, okay, well, here's an apartment in a shitty part of town, and this is where you can stay, they will just pay you to keep making payments on your own house till it's paid off. And that's what a lot of people are starting to do is they're buying these homes, going on Section 8. The government gives them $1,500 a month to maintain those payments, and in 30 years, the fucking house is paid off. Yeah. It's theirs. Yeah. It doesn't belong to the state. It belongs to them.
The immigration, the whole problem would be fixed if we just stopped the welfare stuff. Mm-hmm. Because then there'd be no reason to come over here. Yeah. Then it would go back to when we were growing up, where hardworking motherfuckers came. That's not the ones that came and just were immediately a negative impact.
I even tell people, I'm like, back when we were kids, fucking George West ran on favors.
Everything's transactional.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. So here's my question to you guys. So you have the Chinese who are slowly infiltrating the world. I mean, they're the best at it, 100%. There's nobody better, right?
They're pretty good, but they're not as good as Islam.
So
look at Europe.
Okay, but they're loud about it.
The Somalis were kicking ass recently too.
Well, they kind of fall into that, right? So they're loud about it,
like a World Cup bracket.
Yeah,
they're loud about it, and then they're slowly sort of growing, right? One loud, one quiet. What happens when the two meet?
Well, that's where I go back to the lesbian in the country.
No. I'm saying, so they finally win. They finally, the momdamis and everybody, get rid of us, the normals, even the liberals. And you have the China. They don't put up with it.
Well, that won't happen until...
until
we're gone.
Far forward.
Right.
Yeah, because you think about it, right now...
Because they're both vying for Western society.
The whole pride. They're all wearing the keffiyeh Palestine things,
Mm-hmm.
and they get thrown off roofs over there. But right now, they're bedfellows because they have a common enemy, which is the West.
Right.
Until they're not needed anymore.
Yeah.
But one thing that you see, and I don't know that it happens a lot, but you see a little bit of the news. Europe's gotten so bad. Now your 22-year-old male white guy in Europe, now he's a racist because he's sick and tired of the Muslims and everybody else coming into this country, and you hear about the rapes, you hear about the violence, in Ireland as well, and it's I go back to the lesbian out in the country. It's you didn't do your job, and now there's gonna be blood in the streets, man. Yeah. And it's because, and maybe that's by design. Maybe that's politicians going, hey, chaos is good for us.
Well, the difference between what your scenario and in Europe is now in Europe, the police forces are captured.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're against the guy trying to defend himself.
Yeah,
for sure.
Did you see that guy?
Fort Worth, Texas.
Did it happen there too?
Well, they're going after preachers. They're proving it day in and day out.
What's going on there?
You're talking about the guy they handcuffed and he died?
Yeah, he had been
yeah.
I think that happened back in December, but it's
it's crazy.
Even when people in Europe are getting arrested for fucking social media posts.
Yeah.
It's going on, man?
Yeah.
You know?
No, in Fort Worth right now, there's a preacher that's preaching on a corner, and they're giving him grief, saying he can't preach publicly. But
If somebody's offended.
right, and
Oh.
vice versa, he'll say on video, "Hey, what if they say something about me?" Oh no, they can do that all day long, and they have the police officers, multiple, like 3 that I've seen,
Well, see, that's that fucking
that
Overton
that
one,
they will arrest him, but not them, and he's just a preacher.
yeah. And that's
And this is Fort Worth, my man.
that's what I'm saying. And, you know, people like to go. It's interesting because I see a lot of people always make comments about Texas, and Texas is Texas, and it's like, hang on, motherfucker, we haven't been Texas in a while.
Yeah.
You know.
You haven't been to like Frisco.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of where it's changing, and even in Houston, you know, your small rural communities, yeah, they're going to hold out probably forever, but when the population, you know, starts voting in the state, and you know your rural communities aren't outvoting, you know, the Houston population, the Dallas population, the Austin, and all of a sudden it's like, fuck, you know, we didn't want it, but now here we are.
And our problem too is he only had 2 kids. I only had 2 kids. You have 0 kids.
I
And
had
they
3 kids.
Each family has 10.
Yeah, yeah,
Biggest regret of my life.
pulling out.
Yes, in theory.
No, my wife and I both wish that we had had more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think that's, and I don't know if it's the fucking communists, because to me it all comes back to communism. Yeah. You know, and it's like there was this
Never
push,
worked. Never in the history
Never
of the
has.
world. Yeah.
but there was all of a sudden it was like people quit having kids and they started getting dogs, and all of a sudden your dog goes in a shopping cart, and you can take your dog into Lowe's, and you can take your dog into Home Depot, and now all of a sudden you can take your dog places, and now you can put your dog on your fucking insurance.
You get caught up in the rat race.
But that's the thing, is like, is that designed?
You get caught
It's
up
designed. It is designed.
It is. The dual income family. You get caught up in the rat
I
race.
literally talked to the girl earlier about that. She's got a friend who's like the last Rosie the Riveter. She's like 100 years old, and we were talking about it. And I said, when they took the women out of the workforce because the men came back from work, then they put them at the house, and they went back to the important job of being a homemaker. Yeah. But all of a sudden, there was a group in this country that said homemaking. They started demonizing being a homemaker.
Yeah.
They started demonizing, you know, the importance of that job, the importance of somebody in our family raising our kids. So then all of a sudden it was like, no, girl, go to work.
Yeah.
Well, now you got the government taxing 2 incomes in one household, and they say, well, you know what, send us your kids. You know, we got pre-K,
Yeah.
we got
We can raise them
pre-K,
for you. Yeah.
and all of a sudden your kids are spending 8 hours with somebody outside of the fucking family.
Yeah.
You can't even pick a daycare to send them to, because daycare is fucking $3,000.
Yeah.
You know,
But whatever, you know, I think it's designed, obviously, like you said.
I
But
100% think
the
it's
whole
designed.
thing about,
yeah,
and I've told him, you know this, I don't know how you feel, but, you know, all of our parents were like, you know, go to college first, get your feet under you first before you start having kids, right? That's stupid. Like to me, I tell my kids, like, I hope you are having kids by the time you're 22.
yeah, yeah.
I don't tell that to my kids, but the difference is, I would say the difference is here for both of us is, number one, we would 100% be behind them. And when you guys need help, we have the ability to help, which is like daycare. We would step in. At 22, he's still young enough to step in and help.
Sure.
However, that help might fall, whether it's financial or just bring the kids to the house and they can play with the cats and dogs and swim in the pool.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Well, I didn't have that. Like
That makes it easier, but
yeah.
But I mean, how many people can't do that? That's what I'm saying. Is like you just got to do it.
Yeah, you should. You should just jump in. But the problem is an intelligent person is always thinking like your son, your daughter, my son. They'll be like, well, do I have enough to make the mortgage? Do I have enough for the groceries? And do I have enough to put Pampers on my kids?
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, that's part of it is like, for the majority of people, it's never a good time. Never. You know,
No, that's part of the rat race.
Hey, listen, the way you know how I grew up. I was the second of 9 kids.
yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure my parents didn't have the money for the mortgage and the
Exactly.
Pampers.
No, and there was a lot more of that.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of government cheese going around too.
Well, the thought is, to me, the thought is, even in our heads, is that we want our kids to be like professionals and highly, financially successful and stable and all of that. Even though we now know that the most important thing in life is our family.
Yes,
But we are somehow trying to pass on to them that it's important that you do this and plan it and do all that. But it's not.
No, because I will admit that my wife and I got caught up in that rat race. And then at one point we're like, why do we need a 5,000 square foot house when nobody's seen the other half in like 2 months?
Yeah.
This is dumb. This makes no sense. Let's take a step back. Let's downsize. Andre, you don't need to work anymore. There's no point. There's nobody at home. We don't need because my son was raised by a Turkish nanny and a Colombian nanny. And like, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, you want
took
them
a step back.
You want them to have the most influence by one of the parents, And granted, there's some kids someplace that don't have 2 parents or don't have any parents, but those are cases that you can argue a different argument. But when things are when there's 2 parents and things are working out great, fucking have kids.
There's a higher chance for success there.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's an old movie. Andre's probably seen it. I don't think you fuck with stupid stuff like this, but that movie, Idiocracy.
I know.
Have you seen it?
He's as big of a movie buff as you are.
Like
maybe
that,
more so.
There's so much truth to it because in the very beginning,
Scary true.
They even tell you how, this is a couple who's successful and educated and they want to get their career started. And that's where their focus is. They're not focused on children. And then Billy Bob and Tina Fey, they're just banging it out and shooting kids out like crazy. And they're not concerned about careers or, where they live or anything like that. And then all of a sudden the people that you would want to be having kids together are now in their late 30s, early 40s. And they never had kids, but they've been successful. And, even just that portion of the movie, if you don't get into the rest of the craziness, it's like, fuck, that is happening.
It is. It's like reverse Darwin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
reverse evolution. Because like in every other species, right, the most suitable produce the most. That's like success for animals, right? And so their traits get the most. So the best traits, the best traits.
Not anymore.
Yeah, the best traits for like survival for animals are the ones that's how they evolve.
Survival
right?
of the fittest.
Yeah. So
when you think about like a lion, right? He's the strongest.
Yeah.
He fights to get the women.
Or the one that's the bird that's good at gathering food or whatever has more chicks and they survive more. But it's opposite for humans in the last 80 years.
A lot of these girls have just they're a prison pen pal, and as soon as they get out, they start knocking it out, man. Well, hey, before I let you go, because we've been here a while, your Cybertruck. Again, I love the burnouts. I love the Sheldon Wapples who's going to want to, leave tar at the stoplight downtown. I see Ford coming out with these trucks.
Nope.
And they go, hey, you look tired. You should pull over. Right?
Yeah.
And then they say, in the future, the truck's going to look at you and go, hey, you're inebriated.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I sit there and I take things too far. But I go, I told my wife, I said, in the next 10 years, the cops are going to have a fucking PlayStation 5 controller, and they're going to be able to sync up with your electronic vehicle and pull you over.
Yeah.
Or Tesla can go, hey, you know what? You missed some payments. Fucking bring the truck back.
Yeah.
Or disable it where you can't even turn it on.
Yeah.
And I sit there and go,
Ford already has that, by the way.
yeah. And I think it's getting more.
5 years from now, we can go home now without him touching the steering wheel.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do we want that world? And I'm asking you.
And number 2, you can also hack the system where he can fall asleep and they put a little fake head, but perspective looks like his head, and we're going home anyway. So there's always going to be a hack.
But
You're saying,
You're
do we
thinking
want
a
that
privacy thing?
No, he's talking
privacy
about giving up
thing,
control.
Giving up control. Do we want that?
It's going to happen.
I mean, I don't want to give up control for sure. But
don't either,
I will
but
say
it's going
this,
to
because
happen.
whenever these things first started coming out, right?
I've been to your house once and I didn't see a regular vehicle there. So I'm just saying.
No, I have only Teslas,
Yeah.
So,
It's going to happen.
yeah, I would say it probably does. I don't like it.
I bet at some point you're reluctant to put in your credit card information on the internet. Now you're just like,
I do it all the time
every other
now.
day.
Yeah, I do it all the time. But I guess one thing that, like, I've got an old truck. Recently paid off, fellas. Father-in-law gave us an old car. It's 20 years old. Nice. It's 20 years old. And I sit there and go, if I'm going to buy anything again, I want a 60, 70 model vehicle, decent motor in it, drivetrain. I want it patinaed out, and I'm going to clear coat that shit. And that's what I'll drive. I don't want to break down, right? I want air condition. I don't want to break down. But I don't want it going, have you been drinking? You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you know what? Let's call the cops. You look inebriated. Let's get you home safe. Let's call the cops. And again, it's like when State Farm goes, hey, I need your credit card to take out payments. And I go, do I have to give you? Because I might want to miss a fucking payment 1 month. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I might need 10 more days to pay that bill. I like that idea, even though I'm probably not going to ever do that. But I like that idea. I don't want to lose control.
Yeah, no, listen, I don't like that either. Will the technology be there? Yes. Will they be able to implement it? I think Tesla would be the last one to do it because of who their owner is, right? So, their owner is a public company, but because of Musk, he's all about freedom, right?
But when you describe your truck right now, I mean, if he decided one day to go, fuck it, let's go extreme. I mean, he can probably do it quicker than anybody else because of
100%.
where that truck is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they could, but would they? I mean, another thing, like the argument on that used to be they can take over it and kill you, like wreck it and kill you. And there was a lot of conspiracy theories or true theories about, all the way back to McClendon, Audrey McClendon, the guy from Chesapeake, remember? The CEO, or anybody high profile that was going like 70 and went into a tree or something, right? Killed them. And so I used to think about that, like, it's like, oh, yeah, I'll get and I had remember that Jeep I had? It was like a standard Jeep. And then after a while, I'm like, man, it's kind of like your credit card or something. And even one time, I think Jeremy brought it up, my brother.
I know he did.
He did bring up, he bring one time like, man, it could just take over and kill you and nobody would know. I'm like, yes, it could, but why wouldn't it just kill you with my car? Like, why wouldn't they know where you are. You got a phone and everything. You don't need to drive one. They can kill you with my car. Or any other Tesla or electric car out there, Like if they want to kill you, you're not going to be. They're going to kill you,
Yeah, I just feel it gets real Minority Report.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, you're worried about a slippery slope,
right?
And I worry about cashless society.
Yeah, I mean, there's that too. And I guess one fire at a time. That's a huge one too.
It is. I'd probably worry more about that than the car thing. Like, I could give a shit. I could still go buy an old Ford like you want to do.
And I guess that's what I want for Jason. I want you to have your Tesla truck, man. But I want you to have that old stick shift Jeep.
Yeah, I had it for a while.
That way you go, when it turns into fucking, what was that movie? We Made You. What was that damn 80s movie with the 18-wheelers that were killing everybody? Maximum Overdrive. When we go into Maximum Overdrive, man, I want you to have a stick shift Jeep. Because, I don't know, man. I feel like it's inevitable, like you said. It's coming. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I just want to head that direction as slow as possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the technology is not going to slow. It's whether it gets implemented or not.
Right.
You know, another thing about those. Oh God damn it! What was I going to say? You were talking about the Maximum Overdrive shit.
Great movie.
Yeah, it's going to come to me. Oh well, keep going.
But I mean, that's kind of where, like, your truck's amazing. It looks amazing.
Oh, I got it.
Go ahead.
So people always say, "Hey, when the balloon goes up and the shit hits the fan, where are you going to plug that thing in?" Right? Like whenever like the apocalypse comes, and it will be the only one that drives because I know what it takes to run a refinery. How long you think fucking gasoline's going to be around? That's going to be the first thing. It's like once gasoline stops making, we have like maybe a 7-day supply. That's if you can get it.
You know what's funny is during COVID, I got a little freaked out, right? And so I like to prep a little bit, right? I don't get crazy, but we got extra groceries.
Every man
at the house.
should have that in the back of his mind. Like, what would I do?
We got little propane tanks if we need to cook something. Little heaters, typically hunting stuff, right? Get hunting gear. And I called Lee one time. I said, "Hey man, I probably shouldn't say this because he's always bitching he can't give free advice, but fuck it." I said, "Hey man, should I buy gold?" And he goes, "Can you eat gold?"
Yeah.
I said, "No." He said, "Can you defend yourself with gold?" I said, "No." And he goes, "Then don't buy gold." And I go, "So I should buy ammunition?" And he goes, "Probably."
Yeah.
And I started buying ammunition like crazy, man. And I told my wife, I said, "Listen, yes, this is crazy. Yes, when shit gets bad, it probably going to be overwhelming and we're not going to last very long." I said, "But I could see us filling up a tank of gas and swapping it out for a handful of 5.56."
Yeah.
I would want it, right?
Yeah.
You can hunt, you can defend your family. And I started thinking that way, bought some, dried goods or whatever.
I will tell you this: if you don't have it, then whatever you bought, it ain't yours.
Right.
Somebody's gonna come take it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of 223, 5.56, 9mm, stuff like that. Just kind of, I got friends that kind of do similar. When we stop recording, I'll tell you what. But, I just think that the direction that we're heading as a society it's kind of one of those things where people go, we don't do this because that's how my parents did it. And it's like, okay, well, what the fuck was wrong with it?
Yeah.
Maybe it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes, you always want to progress. Yes, you want to have, technology is great, but it's like, let's not be in a hurry to jump off that cliff. Let's look over the edge and see what's down there a little bit, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. Like you said, it's coming.
I'm telling you, it's on all fronts. Pretty soon, like us sitting here right here, like without any implants in our brains, will not be able to compete even closely with the ones that have implants.
Yeah.
Like the Neuralink, that kind of stuff, where it interfaces with the nervous system in their brain, you'll be able to like put something in and like learn.
Well, they're doing that right now with vision.
Yeah.
Oh, the glasses.
No.
Oh, your eyes.
They're given sight when it's not only just sight. It might be thermal or infrared.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're gonna be able to be augmented. So yeah, like we're like just Neanderthals.
You're a hybrid like Android.
Like, so the stuff you're worried about.
And you're 100% correct.
And by the way, you should just have a horse if you're worried about.
Because at least you can eat the damn horse.
Yeah.
You can ride the damn thing with your 6-shooter.
It's funny because like I think we've had this conversation before, where it's like where was I going with it? You were talking about
The site.
and Neuralink, and it's kind of like, well, he started using Grok. That's what it was. The first time you brought your laptop, you brought Grok. And I had never seen Grok before. Mm-hmm. I'm the guy that goes, I'm not putting Grok on my phone because they're going to know everything that I'm doing, And
they already know what you're doing.
Well, this is why I need you to slow down, because to me, I go, is Andre doing it yet? Because I know Andre isn't. Andre's against a lot of stuff.
I am against a lot of stuff.
So I ask myself, I don't ever tell you, but I go, is Andre doing it? So when you brought Grok, I was like, Andre's using it. Let me start using it. So I put on my phone, and I will fucking sit there for an hour and just ask it questions.
You should.
I love history.
You should.
I sit there and I go, okay, well, you
So
know.
you're using it like you would use a search engine.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not what it's meant for, but that's what we use it for.
I'm not smart enough to use it correctly. But that's what I'll do. I'll ask questions and I'll wonder things. But this is one thing that I always go back to, and I always bring this up. One day I Googled a word, and I think it was nationalism or something. And it described it as a right-wing something. Yeah. And so immediately, I've always said, there's never an always, there's never a never. So when something says that it's a right-wing, I go, that's impossible. It cannot always just be a right-wing thing. So I bought an old dictionary a long time ago, probably 30 years ago. Yeah. And so I always double-check the internet against the dictionary. Yeah. It had the exact same definition without the right wing. Yeah. And that's where I go, like with Grok and other stuff. It's like, at some point, it's like, and I've had this conversation before where we grew up in a time without it, right? Yeah. We've had real life experiences. We've seen real life shit to where we can call bullshit. And I think we talked about this last time. You know, we can go, hey, I Googled that, but I know that's bullshit because I have lived experiences. Yeah. You know, your grandbabies are only gonna know what fucking Grok's ever told them.
Like, think about this. Whether it's anytime something went wrong, they start to, you know, and you've probably been through trainings like this. What do they say? Like, avoid groupthink. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, when you're like doing an investigation or coming up with what could go wrong, you don't want to do groupthink because somebody's afraid to step outside the group and say something different. But that's exactly. So we have the ability, because we grew up without it, to not like be influenced by groupthink and how we were developed, our brains were developed, and how we think about things. But you're right, our kids and our kids' kids.
Yeah. It's only what they've ever looked up. Yeah. You know, and it's funny because like I feel like I have several amazing qualities, but one of them in particular.
It's hard to pick just one.
One of them in particular is, and I've always been this way, even when I was a little kid. If everybody goes to the right, I will go to the left. If everybody, whatever direction, this is
contrarian.
Just by nature, you know.
You know, my dad is like the contrarian.
Is he?
Oh my God.
We get along great.
Do you know during COVID, I mean, my dad never once put a mask on his face.
Really? That's good.
Not once. And he went into a hospital because my nephew broke his ankle, and my dad took him there. And they like try to tell him like, you got to wear a mask. He's like, no, and they just let him go.
Yeah. you know what's funny is like I did at work because they made us wear.
Of course.
But I go, you know what? I'm not fucking going there. I went to one restaurant, Salomon, and good food, really good food. Yeah. But I started going to him regularly because he would. Do I need a mask? Fuck no.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. Okay. I'd go to the shooting range in Marion. Do I need a mask? Nah. I started going, okay, I'm only going places where I don't have to deal with that shit. Yeah. And granted, I'm a homebody anyway. I go to a lot of places. But I really started to structure that my patterns that way. We worked a little bit out of the office, a little bit out of home. And it was funny because my wife told me one time, she goes, she's working out of the house. How do you feel that COVID has impacted your life? I said, not one fucking bit. Mm. I said, I still...
Everybody got more annoying.
Everybody got more annoying. I said, I still go to work. I still go to George West. I still go to the places I go to. And I don't wear a mask there. And I don't fucking worry about it. Yeah. You know, where, granted, she worked for the school district. It's a little more different for her. But, you know, I just always want to encourage people to fucking stay defiant to some degree. Don't be an asshole, right? Don't be defiant just to be a dick. But be defiant to some degree, you know? And I think that keeps, as long as we have the burnouts, you know what I'm saying? I always go back to that. As long as we have those guys, you know, there's always that North Star to go, okay, that's what we used to be. You know, there was a time where that's what it was like. And why do we get away from that? Because that looks kind of appealing, right? And I think as long as we have those burnout North Stars, man, we're going to have a reference, and I think that's pretty important. But fellas, I appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Jason,
we'd love to do it again.
Oh, we're going to do it again. There's plenty to talk about. And Andre, I always love having you here, man. So,
No worries.
I want to.
We didn't get to use grok.
We didn't use grok at all, did we?
No, look, see?
Okay, let's do one search. What do we want to look up? I was gonna have you look up what crude oil was, but he told me what it was. It's not dinosaur farts.
You barely scratched the surface with him. He's got a lot in his head.
Well,
I've had a lot of years around him. A lot.
I think
Probably the most access to him, I guess.
Well, anytime you want to come on, you're welcome. We can always say something inappropriate, but I know you have children.
Yeah.
But you know what, man? I
don't hold back around them.
You know, I've always enjoyed you. You know, always enjoyed Andre. You know, I've always enjoyed you, and your family's always been awesome. You know, I always go back to the speech at the high school. Yep. You know, because I've always known you're a good dude. You know, when you went to the Air Force,
it was welcome to the starting line.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what we need to be telling kids more so.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to tell the younger kids, hey, you can be anything you want without reminding them, but there's a big cost.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to be fat and lazy at home with nobody there and it looks like a frat house and there's there's underwear all over the place? You can do that. But if you also want to be retired with 3 Teslas at 46 or whatever the fuck you are, you know, there's options for that too, but it requires different effort. So I think that's important because they're not getting it at the public school, man.
The biggest thing is that they know that they can do whatever they want.
And you know what? Both of our kids have gone through public school. They'll be top tier.
He told me. So you're number 1, he's number 2? Is that what's going on?
My son?
Yeah.
Yeah. They still got a year to go, though.
Hey, you know what?
And they're both conservative, I would say.
Well, you know, I think, you know, like I said, both kids are very similar. So, you know, sometimes I feel like all hope is lost, but maybe it's not. So maybe I need to change my mentality.
There's some dim lights if you look around.
Oh, there's plenty of those. But hopefully there's enough of them that it starts to get a little brighter for the ones that don't have that light on at all. But all right, fellas. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. And thanks, everybody, for listening.
Yep. Thank y'all.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.
Yo, Barry.